He's just going to keep holding it. Joe's got hiccups, so he's holding his breath. I mean, it's like 15 seconds so far. We couldn't wait any longer. That was an impressive amount of time, Jay.
I know.
Welcome back to the Liam and Joe Show. Thank you, everybody, for coming and joining us on this fine lunchtime on a Thursday in the UK, or whatever time or day it is, depending on where you're tuning in around the world. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. It's been a chill morning so far, actually, for me.
It's been alright, actually.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But we are getting ready for the infamous Leagues Votann rules that are apparently dropping today. Now, so far this week, at 1400 hours UK time, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, GW are dropping the new rules. So I've made a gamble here, because I was like, do I still go live at 1:30 when there's no new rules, because we talked about Sisters yesterday, or do we go live at 2 o'clock when the rules drop? Or I
think today they'll go, Liam's done this, we'll delay it by an hour.
Yeah. That is a
Make
risk.
him look the fool.
So I was mildly concerned that if I set it up at 1:30 it might be wrong, but I was also like, the Liam and Joe show's at 1:30 and everyone sat there waiting at 1:30 for us, Jay. Everybody, every single one of you, who should also be hitting all those magical YouTube buttons for us. If you like our content, smash that thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, especially if you're watching on demand and you haven't done that yet, and hit that bell notification icon if you want to be notified every single time we go live or drop a new video. We're doing tons and tons and tons of content right now about all the new 10th edition rules. And today we're hoping that in about 35 minutes time, we'll be able to talk about the Leagues of Votann rules, which GW are supposedly previewing today. If you've not been following along with the 10th edition previews, there's a ton of them on the website already. They've showcased Adeptus Sororitas, Space Marines, they've showcased, Joe's got thoughts on that, Tyranids, Necrons, Demons. I think that covers most of what they've showcased so far.
The only one I haven't read is the Demons one now.
Demons are quite good, Joe.
Someone told me there's a points cap on them.
What? No, if you take them as a CSM detachment.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
So if you take Black Legion, you can take 25% of your army as Chaos Demons and not break your Black Legion faction stuff.
Okay.
Which is quite cool. If, however, you take pure Chaos Demons, you get access to some cool abilities. So, for example, if any area of the battlefield happens to be shadowed by the warp, your deployment zone is always shadowed by the warp. If you control 50% of no man's land shadowed by the warp, and if you control 50% of your opponent's objective markers, that's shadowed by the warp. That's a thing. And any of those areas, it's -1 to your combat attrition. Battle shock.
Battle shock, yeah.
And if you fail your battle shock, you take D3 mortal wounds. I get +1 to my battle shock, and if I pass it, I gain D3 models back or D3 wounds. And I can deep strike within 6 inches of enemy units in that area rather than 9.
That's really good, isn't it?
It's really cool.
Like when you get a smoke machine and
just
pour it.
But make sure it only goes in no man's land. Yeah. So we have seen some cool stuff. Now, I have seen people that aren't too happy with Necron stuff because they suggest that the durability is lower.
I think it's really good.
I mean, I get it because currently what happens, right, is if I shoot a unit of 10 guys, hey, it's those 10 guys, at the Necrons, warriors, and I finish shooting my unit, they then get a chance to reanimate. Then I shoot my next unit, then get a chance to reanimate. I then shoot my next unit, then get a chance to reanimate, right? So they reanimate every single time a unit shoots at them.
Yeah.
In the new rules, I can fire my whole army at that unit before they get any chance to reanimate.
I think the biggest problem with the current reanimation rules I hate with a passion, right, is that when you kill models, I've killed 10 out of your 15-man unit, right? 8 come back because they're getting up on, 5s re-rolling ones.
5 pluses, yeah.
Yeah, and then you killed them, and then the units start slowly creeping across the board.
Yeah.
And then you'll find, and like no Necron player can be like, narratively, they just get back up somewhere else because it's more advantageous. No, what it does is the Necron player gets up and then moves and touches objectives. And
so I think that maybe some of that jank will stop because of this new mechanic, but I do understand that they are now significantly less durable than they were before. I actually prefer it for simplicity's sake.
Oh, yeah.
I just hope that it does in fact come in, and I think with the reduction in AP and all that kind of stuff, warriors will still be relatively durable, use of cover, etc. We'll see.
Also, the current one just slows the game down massively.
It does, yeah, absolutely. And there is a massive feels bad when you finish killing off a bunch of warriors, and then you're right, in the next turn they suddenly have an objective they didn't have before because they've been able to tell onto it by reanimating a certain way, or in the next turn they can now make a charge that they couldn't make before because they would reanimate and close the gap on you. Yeah. Like, I hate those kinds of things.
But I kind of wish the current ones were just like a feel no pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you don't get to move. Yeah. You just don't die.
Yeah. I think the current version, it should have been a fear no pain rather than a get back anywhere you want on the unit. Like, that's 100% how it should be. However, I have done content on almost all of the faction rules. I think the only one I might not have covered in depth is Tyranids and Space Marines, but I don't want to cover them in depth as a faction focus simply because it's the starter box, right? So if we assume that we are going to get a starter box from Games Workshop, then we'll be covering those factions in detail when we get our hands on that box. So I haven't covered those factions, but we have covered Necrons. We have talked about, I have talked about Demons. I have talked about Adeptosaurus. I have talked about Astra Militarum, who have some interesting weapons. Nice flat 12 damage volcano cannon for you, Joe.
Brilliant. I love it. I was like, can I paint your shadow sword now, please?
And I said yes. Yeah. But I also did a short for Titans, which is about the volcano cannon, and be like, right, okay, before you all lose your mind that it's strength 24 and flat 12 damage, let's look at its actual narrative and the fact that it is in fact a mini nuclear reactor channeling energy down a tiny tube and firing it as a concentrated beam of light.
Yeah, they're an anti-Titan artillery unit, essentially.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about Necron, Sisters, Guard, Demons, Space Marines, Tyranids, all that nonsense. We're actually here to talk about the Leagues of Votann. And I wanted to do a bit... One of the reasons why I thought this stream would work today, and one of the reasons why I thought we could fill the first half an hour, is I wanted to talk about what has been. Why has that computer just made a noise when I can't see it? I want to talk about what has been and what potentially could be, because Leagues of Votann created quite the...
Splash.
Yes, splash, Jay. What are you looking at? What are you clicking?
There's a little 3 in the corner, so I looked at it. Apparently there's updates.
Let's not press that button right now. Let's just ignore those updates for now. Right, there you go. We'll do them afterwards, ready for this evening.
Yeah.
So Votann came out last year. They were a surprise faction for a lot of us. There was an April Fool's joke involved from Games Workshop, and they finally announced the Leagues of Votann, or Squats, as are more commonly known, or was historically known, I should say, rebranded as they do with Aldari and Drakari, because they can't just leave the name alone.
You can't copyright Squats.
Because you can't copy it, because you can't IP it. That's why, right? So, Squats came back, and a load of people were exceptionally excited about the return of their favourite dwarfs to the sci-fi setting of Warhammer 40k. I wasn't all that bothered because I didn't really know Squats from before, but when we got our hands on the models were quite pretty. But at the time of getting our hands on the models, we also got our hands on the Codex. This is the first time I have ever gone on stream or content and said, I flat refuse to review this book because it's bullshit.
Yeah. It's the first time that someone leaking the full rules on the internet has actually helped change the rules.
It's also, I think, the first time that I remember, at least, where GW have actually nerfed the Codex before it is in the hands of the general public.
Yeah, we've had some FAQs before day one where they forgot to put like psychic powers or warlord traits into the book, but having to actually retcon the entire book. But even then, day one release with the FAQ, they were bonkers.
So Votann, to me, kind of epitomised the power creep, the lethality creep that happened in 9th edition.
Yeah. So
they were, I mean, when were they actually released, Joe? Somewhere in the region of September, October time, something like that, roughly? It was the tail end of last year.
Tail end of summer holidays, wasn't
it? And we had, I don't personally believe that Games Workshop power creep to sell models. I don't think that's a thing. No. I think power creep is a thing, but I don't think they do it to sell models. I don't think they do it to sell ranges.
I think it's just like I said before, with 8th edition, we had a really nice, what I feel like was a balanced line of rules.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, what do we do for the next edition? Because we've got the models, we can't just release the same rules again. So they've given every army a new piece of ruling, a new piece of fluff on top.
Yeah.
To keep it exciting. Oh, I've got this new rule. Like my Thousand Sons have now got Cabal points or whatever, right? The problem is you have to give those to every army, and then that's where the creep comes in. It's because they want you to have something nice and new for your army, but also it also increases the power of your army.
Yeah, it does. And I think that the rules writers, having spoken with them, met with them, worked with them in the past, are just passionate and excited people about 40k like we all are.
Yeah.
And when a new faction like Votann comes out, they actually want them to be exciting and fun. And again, this isn't about make them powerful to sell, but make them exciting and fun to sell is definitely something that I can see a company doing. And I can't even blame them for it because it's a whole new range. You want them to be impressive. You want people to want to love them, right? That's exactly what I think they perhaps tried to do with Votann, but they just swung too far the other way. Now, why was this book so fucking crazy mental, right? There's a number of reasons. So anything that was given to them as a negative was able to be circumvented in some way.
Yeah.
You've got the slow, they're slow, but if they're accelerated, we can auto advance 12 you know, or we flat advance 3 all the time, no matter what.
And they're slow, but we've given them really fast, durable.
Yeah, we've
transports.
got heavy weapons on infantry that are super impressive, but we won't make them heavy. We'll make them hunter, so they don't suffer the negative to hit. And then there was the thing that really got me the most, and that is a lot of the rules that they had just flat ignored the core mechanics of Warhammer 40k. So, for example, Void Armour. You can't roll the wound against them. You can't roll the damage against them. They have Armour of Contempt. That's incredibly strong straight away, right? Because a lot of armies will pay points for things like lieutenants to better reroll wounds and stuff. I mean, Space Marines have got about 50 lieutenants.
Some armies don't have access to reroll to hit; they just have rerolls to wound.
Right?
Yeah.
And they can't reroll damage, and they kept Armour of Contempt even in an era where they got rid of Armour of Contempt for everybody else. They kept them. Then we had the biggest problem with them in general was how the Judgment Token mechanic worked in terms of auto hitting and what that then meant. So if you know about Judgment Tokens, right, 1 token, a 6 to hit auto wounds like Astra Militarum, doesn't sound like a problem, apart from it also works in melee, which is interesting. 2 tokens is a 5+ to hit, does the same thing, and 3 tokens is a 4+ to hit, does the same thing. In principle, it doesn't seem horrific, apart from when you combine that with things like the Magna Rails, where a 6 to wound damage spills over, and so a Magna Rail, which is designed to kill a tank, and I'll go on to a little bit more detail as to this, why this is a problem in a moment, but a weapon that's designed to kill a tank could then wipe out whole infantry squads. And the issue being was, if you hit with any of those Judgment Tokens applied, it counted as a natural 6 to wound.
Yeah, it didn't help the fact that the whole Votann army is -2 up, basically.
Well, yeah, so
it's really
and
really
this bleeds into that lethality, right? So first of all, there was a number of stratagems that worked on 6s to wound for things like mortal wounds, and secondly, the AP and strength of the weapons across the board, and even the damage. If you think that their basic troops for a 1-point upgrade at the time could take a weapon that, although shorter in range and less shots by half, was strength 5, -2, 2 damage on a basic infantry.
Yeah.
Maybe -1. No, -2, 2 damage, I think it was. Right? It was incredibly powerful. And basic infantry with Judgment Tokens would shred things that they look at.
It basically removed knights from the game. Like, if you were, like, forgetting competitive play, if you were in your club, for instance, if there's a bunch of knight players and a bunch of Votann players rock up, the knight players just lost.
You just go home.
And then it means that they then have to take that knight army and put it on a shelf, because there's no point in me playing with my knights, which I like to play with and I bought and I painted, and now I can't use them because they just die.
Yeah.
So I have to use a different army. Or if you don't have a different army, you just don't go to the club anymore.
Yeah.
So
they were incredibly strong,
Yeah.
right? And GW did address this straight away. There was another reason why they were incredibly strong was because of how many points they cost. Their points were really low.
Yeah.
It meant that those weapons that were super impressive. I haven't got a problem with a weapon like. Okay, well, let's talk about Shadow Sword very, very quickly, right? And it's strength 24, AP -5, flat 12 damage cannon. I'm okay with it. Because you're going to see 1 max normally in a guard army at a high points value. And actually, you're talking about D3 plus 1 shots, you're averaging 3 shots. You're talking about a base weapon, a ballistic skill of 4+, which I think you can improve to 3+, maybe. So you're going to hit with 1 to 2 of them. Then you've got to wound. And if we look at the toughness of a monolith at toughness 14, it's still only wounding a monolith on a 3+. And then it's got to get through an vulnerable save for most of those things, and then it gets flat 12 damage.
Yeah.
And even then, you're going to see maybe 1. The problem with Votann was, especially with the cost of things like land fortresses, is it's currently feasible to run 2 land fortresses with those big cannons. It would have been comfortably feasible to run 3 with those big cannons, right?
I saw people at Warhammer Fest running 3.
Did you?
Yeah.
Even with the new point? Well, there you go. So you would have been able to run through the old points and have a sprinkling of extra stuff. You'd have kept your hammer dude with his big spanner of doom that ignores any damage you choose, rather than the first one, which I know was a bone of contention for you, and could heal 4 wounds. Like, they just became absolutely crazy, insane, powerful with the base codex as it was.
Also, it's on a platform, 16 wounds, toughness 8, 2 up armor save, and you can give it a 4+ invulnerable.
Yeah. So, in the original base codex, to be honest with you, there's no reason to take anything but Great Arthurian League, because you just fuck everything you look at. And I have recently been running Great Arthurian League just to showcase the fact that they fuck everything they look at in terms of killing power, right? I have been tempted, because 10th edition's around the corner, I have been tempted to try and show off base codex Votann in 9th edition. I've decided not to do that, because I don't think it's fun for anyone, really.
No.
Apart from maybe the person playing with Votann.
Only if I can run base codex NIDS.
I still fancy Votann in that.
Yeah.
Considering those Magna Rails also flat ignore
Well,
and vulnerable
the
saves.
issue was that a lot of it came out is that they originally play tested the Votann, as they said, at the same time as when they play tested Eldar and Harlequins, and we know how they turned it out. And
Turned it out.
And also against codexes like NIDS.
Yeah.
And we know how they turned it out.
Right.
So, and that book came out, and it counted everything in both of those armies.
It hard counted everything about those armies,
Yeah.
Joe. That's the problem. So that was Votann. So the question is, Joe, today, and we are now T-minus roughly 12 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, will they make the same mistake again? And I'll give you a reason as to why I've asked this question. Because so far, I feel like potentially twice, maybe 3 times in the rules that we've been seeing so far, they have possibly made the same quote-unquote mistake again. And I'll quote-unquote that mistake because it might be intentional, it might not be a mistake at all. The first one we've already touched on, right? Necrons. So I read those Necron rules as a person who isn't a prolific Necron player, and I was like, this is quite positive. I think this is really cool. It's a simplified rule. It fits their narrative. I then did some reading, and I had some comments on YouTube from people that were like, hey, Liam, I can't believe you think this is great. And I read through them, and thankfully, our audience is typically an audience that doesn't go, you're shit. They actually give a detailed response as to why they think that it isn't great. And actually, what people were suggesting was, this goes back to 8th edition reanimation protocols, which were basically flat irrelevant, because it happens after all the shooting is finished, because it happens in the next command phase. And this is the interesting thing. It doesn't just happen after all the shooting's finished, Joe. It happens also once all the melee's finished.
It happened.
It happens in the command phase. Reanimation now happens in your command phase. So I get a full turn of shooting my army at you. I then get a full turn of charging and fighting you before you can then reanimate.
I do.
And so the mistake, again, quote unquote, because this might be intentional from Games Workshop, but the mistake they potentially have made is that Necron reanimation protocols are going to become irrelevant, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick that unit of Scorpek, or that unit of Lich Guard, or that unit Warriors, and I'm going to fucking flat make sure it's dead, and you will not get a chance to roll a reanimation protocol, because if every model in the unit's dead, you don't get reanimate.
But if they don't, it just comes back again. So so the issue we've got here, right? And I don't want to insult anyone, but it's going to happen by proxy, right? Is that it's actually going to make a lot of Necron players have to learn tactics and not be lazy and hide behind reanimation protocols.
Yeah, Eddie.
Because
I keep timing them out as well because it's funny.
Because the problem is, what all Necron players do is they go, there's my army on an objective. I hold this objective for the next 5 turns.
Yeah.
Because even if
I put 20 warriors
even
there,
if you kill all of those in one round of shooting, these all come back.
But here's the issue, right? Here's the issue, Jay. So this is your warriors, right? And I kill how many have I got? I kill 6 with my intercessors, cool. And you roll some dice and you go, well, let's say 2 of them come back, right? And then I kill another 5 of them with another unit, cool. So I roll those 5 dice, and then another 2 of them come back, and it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I have seen armies dump immense amounts of firepower into 20 warriors, only to find the unit still stands afterwards.
Yeah, and then at the end of the turn, they go, resolve, they're all back. It's infuriating.
Now, I think in terms of the Undying Legions, in terms of the narrative for Necrons, I'm not against it, because it's cool, and it does really show them off as undying, and it shows them off as reassembling and reanimating. However, on the tabletop, it takes a large amount of time. It's very frustrating, which I guess is part of the narrative.
But also, you've got to think, right? The whole of a 40k game, let's be honest, it takes us, 2.5 hours, 3 hours to do a game.
Who's playing?
Me and you.
Yeah,
right? Okay, me and you are playing, right? A game of 40k is a snapshot of a 10-minute interaction, at best.
Yeah.
Between 2 forces.
Yeah.
In real time, right? And in every single narrative book that has Necrons die, right? They don't get up straight away. They fall into lots and lots of pieces, and people run away, and then they slowly get back up. But it also means that you can be really tactical with how you play with your Necrons, right? So if there's ways within the game to auto pass morale, or because Necrons are bound to have a really high leadership, right? And you hide, and you're on an objective. This is
They don't have a high leadership. They have leadership 7+.
Oh, we'll find a way around it. Right. You got 10 warriors, and you go stand an objective. You hide one in a building, right? Or a couple of them, so you only got, which means that a couple ones on the here die, but you know that you can get them back through. I'm going to assume things like the boats. That
Ghost Arcs.
Ghost Arcs, reanimators. It's in the name.
Hopefully they become good again.
Will reanimate things, right? It just means that you can't put your whole army out on the line. It means you have to start being cagey, doing stuff.
It's arguably slightly more narrative as well, because it means that you have a whole passage of time before you get to reanimate, which is, like you just said, what happens.
Yeah, and if you look at the Cyphers Kane books, or some of the Ultramarines books, which are all very Necron focused, they're like, the only way to beat Necrons, to fight Necrons, is to target one unit and kill it, make sure it's dead, then move on to the next one, which you're still going to have to do, because you can't leave remnants. And if you're a smart player and you're hiding like a couple in a corner behind a wall, you know that they can next turn just bimble off and just start to regrow and become a problem.
We also have to remember as well, I agree with you, right? It means that if you do wipe a unit, you actually get a chance to wipe that unit, and then you can move on to the next unit. But if you don't, you know that in the next turn, they're going to be a problem because they're going to come back.
I imagine things like reanimation orbs will still be a thing.
Of course, I'm sure there will be. And again, reanimators, like I would imagine there's certain things, there's certain less ways to reanimate comparatively, because they've got like 6 enhancements, whatever. But reanimators now could become a stalwart. Certain cryptex might give you extra bonuses, which I really like. I like the fact that they seem to go down this route with Necrons as well, as making sure that characters are a requirement to run units more effectively, because that kind of makes more narrative, because the robots themselves are mindless automata. The other thing as well is that and people seem to be forgetting this. We do seem to be seeing a monumental amount of reduced lethality. So whereas a Necron Warrior's 4+ save won't stand up in 9th edition, it looks like it's going to be significantly more impactful in 10th.
Yeah,
okay.
If you've got 10 Necron Warriors in cover, you're on a 3-up save. Versus Space Marines that don't have AP 2 guns anymore. They've got AP nothing guns.
Yeah.
So your 4-up save, which eventually went to a 5-up or even a 5-up invulnerable save, is now a 3-up.
I mean, the way to keep Necrons alive previously was by using the Chronomancer and giving them the 5+ invulnerable. And you possibly won't need to do that as frequently now, because we're not seeing a plethora of -3, -2 guns. We're seeing a ton of -0, and some -1, right? Anyway, that's the first mistake. So I don't actually think it's going to be that much of a problem, but according to the community, it's a repeated mistake from GW. Second one that I've now seen since my stream last night is the Adepta Sororitas and the Miracle Dice problem. So I read the rules, I skimmed the rules before I went on stream last night. I then read them to you live on stream last night, and we talked about them, and I said that I thought they were cool and narrative and quite strong. I want to retract that statement. I'd go from quite strong to very strong.
So Sisters had this problem in 8th edition when they dropped the new plastic line of models, where they had too many miracle dice. There was just an army that could just do whatever it wanted, whenever it wanted, because it had too many dice, and you couldn't deal with them. And then, in 9th edition, through careful playtesting and checking, they resolved that problem and massively reduced it. Now, I would argue, we've gone back to 8th broken again.
And I'll explain, okay? So they tell you that you gain a miracle dice every single turn. We know that we have a battle round and 2 player turns currently, and I am making an assumption here that it will be the same in 10th. So you can I welcome you guys shooting me down if we find out in 10th that it's actually different. It goes back to 5 turns instead of 5 battle rounds. But I suspect they won't change. That differentiation was really, really nice to tell you when things happened and when things occurred, and differentiated between player turn and game turn. So I don't think they'll change that. I suspect that will stay, because there's no reason to. That didn't create any negativity. So if we assume that they're going to gain a miracle dice every player turn, they gain 10 just for existing, right? Cool, that's the first 10. They also gain a miracle dice every single time a unit died. So if you take 10 units and 5, and obviously you're going to have more with sisters. Okay, well, you can probably have sisters 15 to 20 units. If you have 15 units and half of your units die, you're gaining another 7 to 8 miracle dice, meaning you're gaining a maximum at that point of 17 to 18, maybe more if your opponent is a bit more killy. Okay, but we are, again, told lethality is coming down. So we're getting close to 20 miracle dice now.
Yes.
And there is no way to use a 1 at the moment that we're aware of, because leadership's changed. You have to roll over a 7+. So in the old days of Miracle Dice in 9th edition, 1s were super useful. I need to pass morale. I'll use my 1. I can't fail morale. Now, 1s are, as far as I can tell, completely useless. Because what do you want a 1 for? The best you can hit, the worst you can hit on, or the best you can hit on is a 2+. You can't hit on a 1+.
Well, because you can manipulate any dice.
Yeah,
Move,
advance, charge, hit, wound, damage, saving throw, battle shock.
Could you roll 2?
2d6 for battle shock, and you have to beat your leadership, which is 7 for sisters.
So if you've got a 6 and a 1, you could be is the 1, you know.
But you can only use 1 dice if it's a 2d6 roll. So the 1's now useless. And I was like, okay, that kind of balances out a little bit as well. And then I read the rules for Battle Sisters, and I read the rules for the Triumph of St. Catherine.
We were reading this before we went on stream.
So if you have, if from turn 2 onwards, you have 3 Battle Sisters units on 3 objectives for 2 turns, that's another 6 points there. If those Battle Sisters units all have Amorium Cherubs, and you choose to spend a Miracle Dice on those Sisters units who can be holding things like multi-melters, we just get 3 more. So that's another 3, that puts you on 9. And if those 3 Battle Sisters units also happen to kill in the whole game 3 units, they actually gain Miracle Dice for killing units as well. That's another 3, that's 12 from just the Battle Sisters, right? Not to mention the 10 you're already getting, that's 22, and then the half you're going to get for your army dying, another 6 or 7. So we're now at a point 29 to 30 Miracle Dice in one game of 40k.
That's average, because you've got to think, you're going to have more than 3 units of Battle Sisters.
That's a lot of Miracle Dice, Joe.
If I was a Sisters player now, I would be like, cool, I take Morgan Val, the big blobby unit.
The Triumph of St. Catherine.
Yeah. Max Battle Sisters.
Retributors I fancy as well. But anyway, so Battle Sisters, I've got a Battle Sisters army to build here, and I've got 30 Battle Sisters, and I was like, in 9th I was like, I might build 10. No, I might build all of them, get them all ready to go.
Yeah.
Which is also cool that a core troops choice is something that I really want to take.
So they did it with the black, with the Chaos stuff as well. The Legionnaires. I was saying Black Legion, but they're just Legionnaires that get to re-roll to wound in combat. Like they've said that you can use whatever you want in your army, but there's still a strong emphasis on running core troops choices.
Which is good, you know. It's interesting. People saying rules up. Yeah, I know. We're just talking about the current mistakes. And what I want to point out, Freshman says this is beginning to stretch the definition of miracle. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So I would argue that some people out there would suggest that they have made the same mistake twice with Battle Sisters and Miracle Dice, and the same mistake twice with Necrons and Reanimation Protocols.
I'm going to make a prediction. The Votann is just going to be a relentless sea of, what is it called? Critical hits and lethal wounds.
There's no way they're going to lose their tokens either. There's no way they're going to not have these. So they're going to have judgment tokens, and we see cool to see. And this will give lethal hits.
Yeah,
I reckon. Anyway, we'll see. We're about to jump into it. Before we do that, they are supposedly 2 mistakes that they've made a second time. Now, I say again, supposedly and inverted commas, all that nonsense. And the reason why I add that is because it's possibly intentional from the studio team, right? This might be on purpose. And again, as I've said in every faction preview so far, and I'll say this again before we go into the Votann rules, we are looking at these in a complete vacuum. We're looking at these and comparing them to 9th edition, and we're looking at these and comparing them to the very limited rules we've seen so far for other factions. We don't yet know the whole index, the whole codex, or the whole rules of the edition, right? Anyway, before we do that, into you beautiful people in the audience. I haven't been super chatting much because I haven't been reading them out, Joe, so I need to read them out more, right? Yeah. Nordos, thank you for the gifted membership, you're a hero. Schooner, thank you for the gifted membership, you're also a hero. Tyler, thank you for the 5. Good morning, gents. Joe is an international treasure. Liam, your last night's stream was so great and funny to be a part of. It was good fun last night. You missed it.
I'm sorry I missed it.
Because you were Call of Duty, weren't you?
I was playing with War Hipster Josh. Go check him out. We should get him on at some point.
I mean, he's got to come down from Gloucester. It's a long way.
I feel like these are just excuses.
They are.
No excuses, just answers.
Benjamin, thank you for the 350. Masterpiece. The Codex was a masterpiece talking about the Leagues of Votann. Was it, though? Was it? I knew a number...
Did you get a tattoo?
I knew a number... I need.
Is that what? I've got to back up that.
He's got more done. He just seems to love naff tattoo. Anyway, thank you for the 350. You're a hero. I love you dearly. Professor Potato, what a great name.
Solid name.
Thank you for the 10 gifted.
You're already a winner in our hearts.
What a legend. Tyler comes in with another 5 gifted, and Dang Skippy with 5. 21, 22 new members on the stream.
21 seconds ago.
Thank you, people. Gifting membership, super chatting is so important to us. So big thank you to all the people that have done it so far. It literally is genuinely what's put foods on our tables, roofs over our heads, keeps us in a job and keeps us in plastic to continue to entertain you people. So thank you so much.
And pie.
Exclamation mark gift, exclamation mark chat. Just hit that little $sign. You can now, fun fact, you can now gift memberships from iOS devices, which you couldn't do before yesterday, as far as I'm aware.
We also have a merch page. We need to update that, don't we?
We have Saggio t-shirts. Yeah.
We need to. I want to put some designs on there.
I'm going to start adding some more designs when I finally get some dice back in stock as well. Yeah. And fun fact, we're looking into ways of selling things like 3D printed channel shoulder pads with the logo on them. Oh.
At that small size, wouldn't it just look like a little snowflake?
The Joe shoulder pads.
the Joe.
Little snowflakes.
the snowflake, Marie.
I'm into it. Right, cool. So thank you, beautiful people, for the support. It genuinely means tons to us. So let's go into the faction rules for Votann. You nervous, Joe?
I am.
Now, unfortunately, because of the setup we have for the Liam and Joe show, I can't put these on the screen for you right now. But we are going to talk through the Leagues of Votann release.
The void is in our veins.
The Leagues of Votann take the matter of personal slights to an extreme degree. Every grudge must be settled, every wrong righted, and in this galaxy there are more than enough wrongs to go around. Fortunately for these obdurate explorers, they have plenty of punchy rules to get it done in the new edition. I feel like they know that I read these out nowadays.
I really want them to
put stupid words
to put a lot of the kind of Warhammer fantasy dwarfs. I want them to have like oath stones. Where did you just walk
OAF?
Yeah, OAFs. Oof. He just goes and throws the oath stone down and stands on it. He's like, I'm not moving. Is that new terrain?
Possibly, I don't know. The Leagues of Votann are all about exacting revenge for transgressions against the kin. Hitting them is almost as bad as hitting yourself, for they have many ways to make you regret harming their comrades. Even once you commit to a fight, their natural durability means you'll need to spend far more firepower than you'd like, making sure none of these ornery warriors remain. This doesn't sound positive, does it, Joe, right now?
What? So before we go, what I wanted, or what I want from Votann this edition, right, is to be what Chaos Space Marines were to Space Marines. In like when Space Marines went to 2 wounds and Chaos Space Marines had 1 wound, 2 wounds on Terminators.
Yeah.
So they had the same armor, much like Sisters of the Battle, but they were as tough as Space Marines. But obviously less wounds. But they had good firepower.
Thank you so much. I think thank you, Thanksgiving, for the 5. Thank you, Datsun Des for the 1. Thank you, Reza, for the 5. You're both, all of you, everyone.
Is that Reza Prime?
Yeah. I'm back onto the community article. I'd like to come back to 20 super chats just so we can answer questions. Just saying, right? Kin make war in a careful, deliberate manner. Carls and their subordinate Thanes select targets according to a rapid battlefield analysis of their strength, calculating the value of their defeat against the cost of an engagement, a process known as casting the Eye of the Ancestors. Once a suitable foe is chosen, the Leagues of Votann can unleash hell, safe in the knowledge that their efforts are well spent. So this is their army rule. Again, to clarify, their army rule is the rule that every single Leagues of Votann player will get access to. It's the one that doesn't change. The sub-faction rule, the detachment rule, is the one that changes. So their army rule, Eye of the Ancestors. If your army faction is Leagues of Votann, each time an enemy unit destroys a Leagues of Votann unit from your army, that enemy unit gains 1 judgment token. An enemy unit can never have more than 2 judgment tokens. Any further judgment tokens a unit would gain beyond this are ignored.
Looks like the lasers that Tau have.
Mark lights.
Thank you.
Each time a model from your army with this ability makes an attack that targets a unit that has 1 or more judgment tokens until that model's attacks have been resolved, apply the relevant bonus from the table below. I'm already preferring this. If they have 1 judgment token, Joe, then the Leagues of Votann unit gets +1 to hit. Add 1 to the hit roll.
Nice.
And if they have 2 judgment tokens, which is called now we've got a grudge to settle, add 1 to the hit roll and add 1 to the wound roll. I mean, it's better than the current version, I think, already.
Yeah.
It's still strong.
You still have to roll to wound. So
and to hit. Well, yeah, we had to roll a hit anyway. But yes, you still have to roll a wound. You still have that second roll in there, but you do get plus 1 to wound.
Can you get rid of them? Did it say as long as they've got them on them?
So they don't. Yeah, it doesn't. You just gain judgment tokens. They don't go away by the sounds of it so far.
Yeah.
The accumulation of judgment tokens spells doom for the units that collect them, as blistering autocannon fire and glowing plasma axes alike get more accurate and deadly against those who have wronged you. This is I already think this is a much better mechanic.
It's much less confusing. Well, you got one, I get plasma hit.
It's much less non-interactive as well, right? It's not just I've hit you and I've auto-wounded you. There you go.
Do you know what that means though? You're gonna have to buy new grudge tokens.
Why?
These ones have got freeze on them.
Yeah, they have, yeah. The Oathbound detachments, this is now the detachment rule, which is the one that will change depending on the detachment you pick, takes spite to new levels, allowing you to single out particular foe for retribution. Their ruthless efficiency rewards singular focus with an immense tactical advantage. Picking up 3 free command points right at the beginning of a battle can shape entire games. At the start of the battle, select 1 unit from your opponent's army. That unit starts with the battle with 2 judgment tokens. Okay? So pick 1 unit from your army, Joe. It's already got 2 judgment tokens, which means I get +1 to hit and +1 to wound against.
Well, that's fair, because Space Marines pick a unit and they re-roll all wounds or something, don't they?
If at the start of any of your command phases, that enemy unit has been destroyed, you gain a number of command points depending on how early in the battle you destroyed it, as shown below. You can only gain command points in this way once per battle, and command points gained in this way are an exception to the core rules that limit the maximum of command points you gain per battle round to 1. Okay? So if you destroy it in the first or second command phase, you will gain 3 command points. If you do it in the third or fourth, you gain 2. And if you finally destroy that unit in your 5th command phase, you'll gain 1 command point. This is actually quite a cool mechanic. I actually like it.
It means that you have to commit, don't you?
So you pick I mean, what do you do though? Do you pick a 5-man Battle Sister squad right at the start and go, I'm just going to murder them because I can do it in turn 1?
Yeah.
Or, because you instantly get 2 judgment tokens against it, do you pick the opponent's Land Raider, because actually it's a tougher target to crack.
Yeah.
It might take me longer to get it for CP, but I do already get that +1 to hit and wound against it.
Yeah, and it means that like it's a unit I have to deal with anyway, so I might as well put it on them.
Stratagems in this edition are looking very, very strong because there is less of them. There's less chaff, there's less shit stratagems.
Yeah.
So I'd also actually argue that 3 command points in the first 2 battle rounds is probably a big deal, right? With the bonuses to hit and wound rolls from Eye of the Ancestors, there's a little a marked target can do but cling to life in the hope their certain demise won't hasten that of their allies. Oathbounds are built around a core of dependable Hearthkin warriors. This is the unit spotlight. Rough and ready fighters clad in thick, void-sealed armour to bolster their natural hardiness. Void-sealed armour until they take the helmet off. 5-inch move.
Standard.
Toughness 5 now.
They've gone up from toughness 4.
Yeah. Save of a 4+, which is what they were before.
Yeah.
Wound of 1, leadership of 7, and objective control of 2, which is pretty standard for most of their infantry. We'll go on to their rules and we'll look at their weapons, okay? So they have Eye of the Ancestors as their faction, of course they do. Luck has, need keeps, toil earns, right? Like Yoda said it. At the end of your command phase, if this unit is within range of an objective marker that you control, that objective marker remains under your control, even if you have no models within range of it, until your opponent controls it at the start of the turn. Right, so
they've got a sticky object.
I'm gonna make a statement now, which is gonna make me sound like I'm a bit negative, okay?
You're never negative, ever. Never in the history of time have you ever been negative about anything.
In 10th edition, what they have categorically stated is, we've taken a bunch of abilities that are called different things across different factions that do the same thing, and we've made them a universal special rule. Haven't they?
Why didn't they make objective secured that?
So they've gone Fear No Pain, everyone calls it Fear No Pain, so we'll call it Fear No Pain, right? They've gone Deep Strike, everyone calls it Deep Strike, so we'll just say this unit has Deep Strike, right? And then what they've done is on all the core troops data sheets, they've written bullshit like this, which have gone, you get sticky objectives. Intercessors have got one that's called something different. Hearthkin Warriors have got someone that's called something different. Why didn't they just go, luck has, need keeps, toil earns, this confers objective secured. And in the core rulebook, objective secured says the objective's sticky.
No.
It goes against everything they've been trying to do with keywords.
It's sticky.
Like, why? It's a sticky objective. But, like, if you're going to go down the route of universal special rules, go down the route of universal special rules. Don't take 5 core troop data sheets, call them 5 different things, and write the same fucking paragraph out. Just give it a core rule. Anyway. War gear abilities, Joe. I'm not wrong, am I?
He's not wrong.
For once, this isn't a pointless rant.
The problem is you're speaking facts, and people don't like that.
No.
People don't like it when you say the truth.
But it just doesn't make sense. For example, if we go into the War Gear abilities and we jump into the Medipack, models in the Bearers unit have the Feel No Pain 6+ ability. Like, oh, what's Feel No Pain? I have to go to my Universal Special Rules anyway. So you might as well make Sticky Objectives one if you're going to put up that many units. Anyway, you could have a pan spectral scanner. Range weapons equipped by models in the Bearers unit have the Ignores cover ability. Ooh. Wasn't really a big deal in 9th. I feel like it's going to be a bigger deal in 10th.
A Panda Spectrum?
Yeah, a Panda Spectrum scanner. So you're scanning for pandas that are on the spectrum. Commiserate each time a target in the Bearers unit with each time you target the Bearers unit with a stratagem, roll 1d6 on a 5+, you gain a command point. So they potentially refund their own CP.
So instead of like Sisters gaining much better ability, let's be honest, you just get like Votann will be the CP army.
Possibly. And then a Wayfield crest, the Bearer has a 4+ invulnerable save, which is what we typically saw on the Thane, right? Now I want to jump into some of these things.
What about the guns? The guns.
So this is interesting, Joe.
So what's the standard bolter gun?
So this is actually interesting.
Which is currently strength 5 -1, isn't it?
So the possibly. No, I think it's 4 -1/1. But it's rapid fire too. So the Autok pattern bolter is the one you're talking about. So let's go into where we were, and let's look at where we are, okay? So the Warriors, there we are. So the Autok pattern bolter, which is, I think, currently rapid fire 2, 4 -1/1.
It's Hunter 2.
Okay, so 2 shots.
Strength 4 -1.
So there's no Hunter anymore, because that shit's all gone.
Good.
It's 24-inch range.
Same.
2 attacks.
Nice.
Ballistic skill 4+. So you need a judgment token to be hitting on 3s.
So they're Tau now.
You need a judgment token to be hitting on 3s. Strength 4, AP nothing, 1 damage.
Right, okay, so that's massive lethality drop.
Yeah. So let's look at the other thing that everyone takes, which is the Iron Blaster. Okay?
The Iron Blaster is 18 inches, 1 shot, strength 5, -2 damage.
So the Iron Blaster is 18 inches, ballistic skill 4+. Okay?
Ooh.
Strength 5, -2, 1 damage.
Okay.
So we'll let 1 less damage on that one, and only hitting on 4s again.
So it means that they're not just auto one-shotting Space Marines anymore.
Now, let's jump into the Magna Rail, one of the real problem childs for Hearthstone Warriors.
24 inches, 1 shot, strength 9, -4, D3 +3 damage.
Okay, so I'm going to read the rules out in a slightly different order because you're going to get excited and then we'll see. 18-inch range, not 24. Okay, this is the one that was on the basic infantry troop. Was Hunter, wasn't heavy, so if you moved, you still hit on fucking 3s with this thing, right?
So it's still, the thing is, it's an infantry-based tank weapon, isn't it? So.
18-inch range now.
Okay, good.
1 shot.
Yeah.
Its strength now is 12, right?
But I suppose tank durability has gone up.
Its AP is only 3.
Better.
Its damage is D3 +3.
Yeah.
Same. It has heavy, so if you stand still, you get +1 to hit.
So you hit on 4s, yeah. 3s.
But it has devastating wounds, so if you roll a 6 to wound with that 1 shot, an unmodified 6 to wound, I might add, because if you've got 2 judgment tokens on you roll a 5, it doesn't suddenly count as a 6, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It will do D3 +3 mortal wounds instead. Okay. But also naturally hits on 5+, not on a 4+.
That's much better.
It's a lot more tame. And there's no Magna Rail keyword, so you'll notice here it's got Magna Rail. Magna Rail is the thing that damages on a 6 spills over and ignores invulnerables. Gone. Doesn't ignore invuns anymore. One of the biggest problems we've had with Votann so far. Damage doesn't spill over. It's a lot more tame. It's like actually having a last cannon in your squad.
Because the problem with that one, the problem with as it is now, is that it hits on a 3, and you can give it re-rolls to hit.
Yeah. And there's other changes as well.
And if you go for that league that gives you +3 inches, that's like a 27-inch range.
Yeah.
So they've taken a good 10 inches off.
Which makes a difference.
It does make a difference.
But even the close combat melee weapons, Joe, if we think about things like how judgment tokens currently work, how many melee attacks does each model get?
2.
Now they get 1.
Good. Good.
And their weapon skill is a 4+.
So they're tougher than Space Marines, but on par with Guard. I like it.
Tougher is arguable because their toughness is 1 higher than Space Marines, but their save of 4+ is 1 worse than Space Marines. They have 1 wound instead of 2 wounds.
So it puts them in that weird in between gap.
They found a nice space to put them, I think.
Yes. Okay.
So they don't seem too broken. But they seem okay. We haven't jumped into the L7 missile launcher, and except we're not going to go for every single weapon.
And what does the...
We're not going to go to every single weapon, Joe. What are you looking for?
Oh, that's all right, actually. It's not bad.
So, overall, I actually think that they are in a decent place. We don't know the points.
It doesn't fill me with unrelenting rage.
I mean, there is an argument to say that in current Votann, especially if you go around with something like either Waimea or you go into Great Therian League, you could just spam max warriors and it causes a real problem for your opponent, right?
But so the medic now just gives the whole unit a 5 up.
6 up for no pain. 6 plus for no pain.
That's so because currently fighting Votann warriors is a fucking nightmare.
I know
Especially
it
versus you, like, oh, you've shot me 10 times. I'll just take them on my 4+ invulnerable save.
Oh, that was the first one. Damage.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Oh, it goes through. I'll ignore it. Oh, he's fine. Cool.
Yeah, I know. It's fun, isn't it? Hearthkin Warriors boast loads of options, allowing tailored teams to tackle particularly risky targets, particularly irksome targets. Eagle-eyed Carls may notice the addition of the Hylas rotary cannon as a weapon option, straight from the parts pack sprue of the specialist equipment from Kill Team Gallowfall. So you can now take a Hylas rotary cannon in a normal Votann unit, despite the fact that it doesn't actually come in the normal Votann box. I'm trying to get excited for your Terminators, Joe. I'm trying.
There's lots of things happening which are making me excited, but I have noticed a trend that everything I love Games Workshop is determined to murder.
I had also read a rumour out there that stated that they thought that people thought they were going to remove the Kill Team unit support from 10th edition.
Yeah.
This would argue the opposite. Okay, because this is specifically a weapon that's only available to the Kill Team box that's now in here.
Yeah,
in
it's like
rules.
Chaos Space Marine Legionnaires are a Kill Team box set.
So people that say that certain kill teams are going to lose support for, I don't think that's going to be a problem. If they want to ride in real style, I'm excited for this, and I haven't scrolled down because I haven't seen this yet. We're live reacting right now, people. If they want to ride in real style, however, there's only one machine that fits the bill, Joe. The enormous Hecaton Land Fortress is a big, beautiful brick of a vehicle that ferries whole squads of Hearthkin and Hearthguard into battle while shrugging off gunfire and dishing out beatings all at once. There's the big bus is coming, Joe. It has a 10-inch move. A toughness of 12.
What was the Land Raider? Did they show off the Land Raider? They said people could go into Land Raiders, didn't they?
I don't know if they did. An armour save of 2+, which is standard. Wounds of 16, and leadership of 7+, and objective control of 5.
So he's quite good at holding objectives.
So 16 wounds is the same. A toughness of 12 is probably comparable to an old toughness of 8, actually. A movement of 10 is the same. It doesn't actually look all that different. Okay. So it's got a Deadly Demise D6 that blows up. It's got Eye of the Ancestors, so it gets the faction rule. Fire support. In your shooting phase, after this model has shot, select one enemy unit it scored 1 or more hits against this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a friendly model that disembarked from this transport this turn makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, you can reroll the wound roll. So if you have your Hearthguard inside, is it specifically range attacks? That makes an attack. No, it could be melee.
Didn't they do something similar for?
They showcased something similar for
Fire Prison. No, Falcons.
Yeah.
So that might be that might be a universal transport rule.
But it does mean so you can shoot this big Chumbawamba at a target, and if you don't kill it and you charge in your Hearthguard, or you get out your the thingies that the other you know what I mean, Warriors, Hearthkin, sorry. You get to reroll your wounds. That's quite nice.
Until the end of the shooting phase, or till the start of the next?
Until the end of the phase.
Okay, so it doesn't.
Oh, it's actually shooting only then.
Yeah,
because it's a phase.
Yeah,
oh, cool. That's not too bad.
Yeah, because I didn't want it. Because if you get out and then you run into combat and punch them, I kind of.
So the War Gear Pan-Spectral Scanner gives it the Ignores Cover ability, so sometimes they do use Universal Special Rules. And damage, if it's got 1 to 5 wounds remaining, it's -1 to its hit roll. Okay.
If it's damaged?
If it goes down to 1 to 5 wounds remaining, it lifts up. So typically, each thing has got a bracket, which is just -1 to hit. Some other things also have half the objective control, and on a very rare occasion, you'll see a different rule. For example, the Triumph of St. Catherine, if it goes down to 1 to 4 wounds, I think it is, you only get to pick 1 of its relics to be in play rather than 2 of its relics to be in play. Okay. Cool, okay. So we're going to start from the bottom and work up. It's melee weapons, Joe. It's got 6 attacks in melee. As a weapon skill of 4+. Strength 8, AP nothing, 1 damage. So basically the same, apart from its weapon skills better.
Yeah.
Okay, which is fine. Okay, let's go into the weapons. I'm going to jump straight into the big boy. my favourite one.
The cyclonic ion cannon.
The heavy magnet rail cannon.
Right, so currently it's 36-inch range, heavy 1, strength 14, -4, 2d3 plus 6 magnet rail.
So it's a 30-inch range now, one shot, ballistic skill of 4+.
Is it heavy?
But it is heavy.
So yeah, if
it stays still, it gets +1 to hit, okay? Strength 18, AP -4,
yeah.
D6 plus 6 damage. So it's less reliable.
It's less reliable, yeah.
Overall, right? Because it's D6. It's more
Yeah.
swingy. So, I mean, again, however, it's got devastating wounds. So if it does, on that one shot, roll a 6 to wound, it does D6 plus 6 mortal wounds. But it doesn't auto wound, it doesn't ignore invulnerable saves unless it does mortal wounds.
This makes me excited for the Vanquisher cannon.
So currently, it ignores invulnerable saves all the time.
Yeah.
Right? In this version, it will only ignore invulnerable saves on a 6 to wound because then it will do mortal wounds instead.
Yeah.
So I feel like, again, that's taken a bit of a beating. It's a lot less oppressive than its current version, whilst also being an impressive
weapon.
weapon.
But with the combination of that and Hurricane Warriors, I suppose you'll get a lot of CP for re-rolls.
Yeah.
I think you might only see 1 or 2 because his gun is much less reliable.
Yeah. Yeah. The iron cannon still looks decent. The Hecaton Warhead is a one-shot weapon. Blast, indirect fire, one shot with a ballistic skill of 4+, but a 3 plus D6 attack, strength 7 -2 damage. It seems tasty. We also typically see the auto cannon on it because that's on it all the time, which is now 6 shots with a ballistic skill of 4+, strength 7 -1 2. The psychic iron cannon, like I said, looks decent. The conversion beamer has sustained hits D3 with 2 shots, so every 6 to hit will do an additional D3 automatic hits.
Nice.
And it has a keyword that says conversion, which we've not yet seen what that means. Conversion.
What's that on?
It's on the conversion beamer, so I feel like this is going to be a... Oh no, it says it below actually, right? So anyway, ballistic skill 4+, strength 10, AP -2, flat 4 damage. That's a good weapon. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, if the target is more than 12 inches from the bearer, an unmodified successful hit roll of a 4+ scores a critical hit.
So conversion then, because Space Marines have conversion beamers as well, don't they?
Yeah.
On like Tech Marines. And
each time an attack is made with this weapon, if the target is more than 12 inches from the bearer, so between 12 and 24 inches, an unmodified successful hit of a 4+ basically becomes old judgment tokens, automatically wounds, because it creates a critical hit.
Right, but yeah, but it's not. It's what, strength 10 -2 4 damage.
Yeah.
It's only 2 shots.
Yeah.
So,
but it has got sustained hits D3. So that's going to be interesting.
If you roll a 6 to hit,
do those other D3s also count as critical hits?
I would imagine not.
I would imagine not.
Because currently, any bonus hits that you score from special rules now don't count towards special rules triggered on the same dice roll.
Twin iron beamers and twin bolt cannons now both gain sustained hits. One is a sustained hit 1 on the bolt cannon, the other is a sustained hit D3, and they're both twin linked, so they get to reroll wounds, which is quite tasty. So the Land Fortress looks good. Again, it does actually, to me personally, look a lot less oppressive than it was before.
It just looks good. It's not terrifying.
Yeah.
It's good, but it's not bad.
And that's without seeing the points. So if they've pointed this at 20 points, it's terrifying. If they've pointed this similar to what it is currently, it's good, right?
Yeah.
The Land Fortress is as tough as a Land Raider and packs a fearsome range of armaments. It's right at home supporting the troops that bundle out of its hold and can rocket up with dedicated tanks from other factions thanks to the impressive power of the heavy magnet rail cannon. Weapon Spotlight. Though they possess many advanced technologies, the Leagues of Votann prize reliability over raw power and don't carry anything with quite the excess of the Astra Militarum Volcano Cannon. What they do have, though, are their esoteric conversion beam weapons, whose new conversion ability multiplies their hit several times over once the beam has enough distance to focus. Conversion beamer, conversion, sustained hits D3. So this is some of my favourites, the Thunderkins currently.
Yeah.
So they have 3 attacks. If they roll a 6 to hit, they'll gain an additional D3 hits. Ballistic skill is 4+. So this looks like they've
only got one.
Huh?
They only got 1 attack.
They've only got 1 attack now. But if they're over 15 inches, it counts as 2 hits. Remember?
Yeah.
As a beam weapon, right? Strength 7, -1, which is currently -2, I believe, and 3 damage.
Yeah.
So they still look decent, and it's got the same conversion rule. So if it's more than 12 inches from the bearer, an unmodified hit roll of a 4 scores an automatic hit, an automatic wound, instead, which is, I think I prefer it. And I like the Thunderkin.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem too bad. I'm noticing, as I'm sure you all are, ballistic skill, weapon skill across the board has all been reduced by 1 for Votann.
Yeah. I like
which makes their judgment tokens seem even less oppressive. When you first read that and you go +1 to hit, you're like, fuck, everything's going to be hit on 2s.
Yeah.
No, hit on 3s.
Yeah.
So actually having a judgment token on your opponent's units will bring you in line with the current codex.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So Stratagem Spotlight. Judgment tokens aren't just for improving hit and wound rolls, Joe.
Oh.
They also interact with oath-bound stratagems to punish transgressors even further.
Punish
Seeing
them.
someone shoot at your allies is bad enough, but when the offending enemy shoots at you, well, kin don't take very well at all. Don't take that very well at all. And a reactive reprisal is in order. 2 CP, it's in your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit that has 1 or more judgment tokens has resolved its attacks. The target is a Leagues of Votann unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Yeah. So your Black Legion Terminators have shot at me. So I pick those Black Legion those Terminators, and I'm picking the unit they shot at. The effect, your unit can shoot as if it were your shooting phase, but it must target the enemy unit that just attacked it, and can only do so if the enemy unit is an eligible target. That's another stratagem we've seen in a previous codex as well. So it looks like they are reusing certain stratagems for other factions. I think we've seen this in Guard.
Why not just make a universal stratagem?
I mean, they could have done, couldn't they? Getting extra turns of shooting.
They're just reactions from Heresy, though.
Some of them are, yeah. Which I, again, I'm kind of on board with. To be honest with you, I like the reactions in Heresy. Getting extra turns of shooting is like gold dust to armies with such major firepower potential, and their impressive durability should leave plenty of models alive to send back their own personal thank you. And they've said their impressive durability without mentioning you can't reroll the wound, you can't reroll the damage. They've got Armour of Contempt at all times. So it looks like all those things that we really hated are gone.
Yeah.
Happy with that. So, a note from the studio. I do always read the word from the studio, although it seems to be corporate junk, to be honest, rather than actual personal opinions. The Leagues of Votann rules focus on armies of hardy warriors who defeat their foes through a combination of teamwork, target prioritization, and ruthless efficiency, explains Robin from the Warhammer Design Studio, Chief Rules Writer 40k. The profiles on their data sheets have been overhauled, enabling us to better represent the resilience of the warriors and the superior craftsmanship of their weaponry. Their Eye of the Ancestors army rule has been simplified, but its essence remains the same. As your opponent's units inflict casualties on your army, they accrue judgment tokens, and the more they have, the more efficiently your forces can eliminate them in turn. In practice, this means that even your rank and file warriors can pose a threat to your opponent's elite forces. I mean, at the moment, they do that without having judgment tokens. Next up, look, Leagues of Votann. I'm glad they updated that.
They did the same thing yesterday.
Good attention to detail. Good attention to detail. So, what do we feel? How do we feel?
I think they're actually going to become a lot more of a, dare I say it, a nuanced army. They're like Eldar without the psychic powers. Because you only get grudge tokens now, that we know of, that if you kill something in your army.
So currently the way you get judgment tokens, you kill one of my units, you get a judgment token. End of your turn, I pick one of your units in range of an objective marker, you get a judgment token.
Yeah.
And in every command phase, my High Carl picks a unit and gives it a judgment token.
Yeah.
Now, the last part of that, I suspect will stay.
Yeah.
I suspect High Carl will have an ability on its data sheet that says it can pick a unit and it gains a judgment token. Yeah. I would also guess there'll be an enhancement that you can give a character to gain an additional judgment token. But I think that so it looks like the one that you get at the end of your turn for just being in range of an objective marker, that's gone.
Yeah. And actions.
I actually really like it.
If you did an action, you got one as well.
And if the new version of Beam is critical hits on a 4+,
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot more balanced. But it does mean that as the Votann player, you can't just stand there and annihilate everything in one shooting phase. You have to be very tactical in choosing what units you want to kill and when.
An unmodified successful hit roll of a 4+ scores a critical hit. Do you know why that's important? It doesn't auto wounds, Joe. It's a critical hit. It's not a lethal hit. That means it counts as a 6, which means this is why it's actually really nice.
I thought critical hits.
So a critical hit is an unmodified hit roll of a 6. A critical wound is an unmodified wound roll of a 6.
Oh, so just
certain things trigger on critical hits. This one has sustained hits D3. Sustained hits triggers on a critical hit. So if you roll a 6 to hit, you gain D3 attacks. What this is saying is, if you roll a 4 to hit, you'll gain D3 additional auto hits. So any 4+ is basically 1+ D3 hits.
Right.
But doesn't auto wound. You still have to roll a wound.
Cool.
That's quite nice, actually.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm a fan of that. Do you know what? I hated Votann when the rules came out. I didn't like the models until you built and painted them. I've said this repeatedly on the channel. It was only when you built and painted them I brought them back. I was like, oh, actually, they're quite nice. But even to last week, I play with them and think, this just feels bad for my opponent sometimes. Hey, I've rolled to hit. What does that mean? It means you're taking models off the table.
My only
That's
concern
all gone, it seems.
with Votann now, right? Games Workshop, if you're listening, don't take this as a negative.
They do listen as well.
Or an insult.
I've had this confirmed, by the way.
My concern now with Votann is they're just going to be boring with no flavour.
Why?
Because
They still have the token mechanic.
But in terms of what the units do, it's World Eaters tomorrow. My concern is that because they're so middle of the road now, that it's like do I pay guard to have more powerful guns but cheaper troops, or do I just play Space Marines? Have tougher units.
But what if you want to sit in between? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm actually really positive about the...
I think it's great. I think what they've done from this book to put it to that is incredible. They've listened to the community. They've seen how the armies reacted in the community at events, and they've gone, we need to fix this because it's a problem, and they've now fixed it. But they're just small Space Marines I worry about now. Because their mechanic is similar to how Markalites currently work.
Currently work, though.
Currently work.
Not necessarily how they will work in the future.
We don't know what they do now. So they're kind of just like tough Tau.
They are kind of tough Tau, but they're not mobile Tau. So you want mobile Tau, you go Tau, but you want tough Tau, you go Votann.
Yeah.
At the moment, off the bat, and I'm conscious we haven't seen Tau, and we haven't seen Eldar, we haven't seen Drakari. At the moment, they seem to sit in a spot where before there wasn't really a space. They've made a space for them, and they've gone, hey, you fit in there now.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice.
So what actually I want to see, right?
Your penis again.
Yes. What I want to see is Votann become a really strong combat army. Because obviously there's orcs in there, is there?
No.
Right? And I'd like to see what they've done with Berserks.
I like Berserks.
Because they've got a Terminator unit, they've got a lot of shooting units, but they've got 2 incredible close combat units.
Jumping into the chat, thank you, Fraser, for the gifted membership. You're a hero. Thank you, Chaotic Failure, for 5 more. 34 new members, Joe.
34.
34.
Zulane.
KOD, thank you for the 5. Glad I can catch the stream live. Cannot wait for Great Hall Gathering. I am desperate for Death Guard rules. I still feel theirs was a balanced codex. I mean, theirs was a codex that certainly didn't cause tons and tons of waves when it first came out. However, I would suggest that they haven't been as strong as perhaps they could have been.
They're one of those armies, like I said about them, that is cool, has a bit of cool narrative, does cool stuff, but they're just a bit boring.
Yeah.
Just a bit meh. They're like, whenever I used to play Death Guard, and I got a bit bored running them, and then whenever I play against Death Guard, they just do my nutting.
Yeah.
Because Death Guard was the originator of the janky fight last mechanic.
Ugh. Which seems to all be gone as well.
Because they've got the fight last doesn't count as charging you, like weird interaction.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Death Guard lacked a bit of strength and power in 9th. I think they weren't as frightening as they were very durable, which is good. But I think they were as frightening as they could be.
Yeah, I feel like because they really, really hit the Plague Burst crawlers with the Nerf bat, didn't they?
Which they needed to do.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry. There's a question coming up. I'm reading for it, so just keep entertaining them, Joe.
I figured out because you just reminded me what would be good for a 1 on
Miracle Dice.
On a Miracle Dice, right?
Yeah.
You want to shoot a unit that you know you want to charge because you want to get onto an objective. And there's a bunch of, this says 5 people there, right? You roll to hit. And then you roll, let's say it's a multi-wound unit and you're shooting with D3 damage guns, right? This is a hypothetical, it'll come up really rarely. Or against guard. What you do is you go, cool, I'm gonna take my 4 hits and they're gonna my 5 hits and I'm gonna roll to wound, and then I've wounded with all of them because I know I'm gonna kill 4, and then I'll just pick a 1, so I know I definitely don't overkill the unit.
Yeah.
So I've chosen not to kill that unit, so then I can charge it.
I mean, there's a nuance, but yes.
I think that could become... So it means that you don't... If you don't want something to die, that's when you use your 1s. Or if you want something of your own unit to die. So, for instance, you've got a model on an objective and your opponent goes, I'm going to shoot at them. Because you know in your head, if that unit survives, he can charge me and steal that objective off me.
Well, I mean, there is occasions where... and it's very rare. Like, if you look at the detachment they showcased, if you're below your starting strength, you get +1 to hit.
Yeah.
So it might be like, oh, my Retributor squad, which is 4 multi-melters and a Sister Superior... I'm taking the first save on the Sister Superior. I'm going to roll my 1. Oh, she's dead.
Oh, she's martyred herself.
Oh,
there we go.
My multi-values are now hitting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you are losing models, but hey. So Bernick says, from yesterday's Sisters, in faction rules, would 1 act of faith per phase mean you cannot use 3 miracle dice for wound rolls? Yes. But, so... It says specifically, if your army faction is Adeptus Sororitas, each unit from your army with this ability can perform 1 act of faith per phase. This is done using miracle dice. Every unit can do a wound roll in the shooting phase with an act of faith dice, but 1 unit can't do 3 wound rolls, is what it says. Unless, of course, you are by the Triumph of St. Catherine, in which case, it says... on the Simulacrum of the Ebon Chalice, while a friendly Adeptus Sororitas unit... which is why you can use this on things like Morven Vow, is within 6 inches of this model, not wholly within, I might add, that unit can perform any number of acts of faith per phase instead of only 1. So, to answer your question, if you have a battle system, if you have, we'll go back to the Retributor squad. If you have a Retributor squad with 4 multi-melters who aren't within range of the Triumph of the Triumph of St. Catherine, and you haven't got the Ebon Chalice Aura on, and you roll your hit rolls with your multi-melters and you get 3 hits, you can substitute 1 of the wound dice for a miracle dice if you have one, and that's it. That's your standard rules for miracle dice, okay? And that's going to be your standard rules for most of Sisters units across the most of the army, right? That's how it works, okay? If, however, you have that ability from the Ebon Chalice on the Triumph of St. Catherine, and that unit has 1 model within 6 inches of this model when it goes to perform its acts of faith. So you roll your hit rolls again, as we've just stated. You roll 4 hit rolls, and you get 3 hits, right? If you've got 3 miracle dice that are all 5s and 6s, and the thing you're looking at shooting wounds on a 4+, you can use all 3 because of that ability.
I mean,
the Triumph. I suspect, Joe. I don't know if I do or don't want to be wrong here. But at the moment, after reading those rules and not knowing the points, I suspect we're going to see the Triumph taken in a lot more Sisters armies. Which I love the model. It's so 40k. It's 6 nuns carrying a dead person into combat. It's so 40k.
It is. However, I don't want to say that external playtesters are a good idea.
I mean, they are.
But in this situation, having someone go, by the way, on this wording, you should probably make it a Adeptus Sororitas non-character unit.
No, and this is my... All right, okay, so I'm glad you said that, actually, because I was about to say something myself to counter your point. External playtesters are a good idea on the whole, because external playtesters are very, 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 very good at breaking things.
Yeah.
And going, hey, this thing that you've built, it's good, but I can do this, this, and this. And GW, and I've done this directly with GW. So you know this thing that you've done? I did it with the Demons Codex. Here's how I can reliably tear down an Imperial Knight with bloodletters, right? This is before it got rewritten and then rewritten again, okay? And they were like, oh, that's a problem. Fucking right, it's a problem. And they went away and they changed it. Play testers, I think, are a good idea if GW go, here's our rules, break it, tell us how you broke it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
What I don't want the playtesters to do, I don't want them to go, break it, tell us how you broke it, tell us how you'd fix it.
Yeah.
And that's how you get layered upon layered upon layered upon layered complexity, where you can only do this stratagem on a Wednesday after 5 p.m. on a unit with less than half models but more than 25%.
Yeah.
Right?
And you're a competitive player in the top 10.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I do agree with you, but I want to go back to GW and go, so this is how I've broken it. So using your new simplified rules, not simple, simplified, not simple,
yeah.
Right? You tell me how you're going to fix this problem now.
Yeah. I think that, yeah, because that's where a lot of the issues that people have come up with, they've gone, we've seen this, but seems a bit broken. Maybe don't have it broken. Make it work. But in English with grammar.
Yeah. Boat Boy, thank you so much for the 20 gifted memberships, Jay.
What a big, thick dog
What
you
a
are.
big, thick daddy. Hit the like button for Boat Boy and then say thank you to him if he gifted you a membership. What a
You
hero.
are a beautiful
If
beast.
you've gained a membership today from any of the wonderful people gifting, we're actually on track to hit 100 at this rate, Jay. Then make sure you, 1, say thank you, and you 2, type !Discord and chat, and you come and join us in the Great Hall Discord server. If you're not a member, you can join the server, but you won't be able to see any of the threads that we chat in.
Then find out who they are, travel to their house, kiss them.
On the mouth.
On the mouth.
Only on the mouth.
Only in the mouth.
Yeah. Don't worry about consent.
Yeah. Or send them baskets of buns.
That's how Joe has a relationship. Don't worry about consent.
Yeah.
Right. Ben Jar says, can you use 1 dice for a hit and then 1 dice for a wound? No, it's once per unit per phase. So in the shooting phase, you hit wound, etc. in that phase.
I would imagine that you probably pick the dice before you roll.
You do. So
Yeah.
you absolutely do. So okay. I've got my 4 multi-melters in my Retributor squad, Joe.
Yeah.
And I've got a 6, a 4, and a 3. I'm not by the Triumph. This is my Miracle Dice pool, right? I'm not by the Triumph of St. Catherine. I hit on a 3+. So I can substitute that 3 in now and only roll 3 hit dice, okay? And I've hit 3 times because I take out that miss. I can't do any more acts of faith this phase. I'm done. I've spent one of my Miracle Dice.
Yeah.
Cool. Or I can, with that same 3 in the pool, roll all of my hit dice, and I've still hit 3 times. Then I can go, I'm going to use my 6 to wound because I'm targeting a Imperial Knight and I need a 6 to wound with my multi-melter.
Yeah.
And then I only roll 2 of my wound dice, but I can't now use my 4 for damage, for example.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Only difference being, if you have that same 3, 4, and 6, and you're by the Triumph of St. Catherine, you can go, cool, I'm going to use that 3 as a hit dice. Cool, we're going to roll these 3. I've hit you 4 times, brilliant. I'm going to use that 6 as a wound dice, so I'm going to roll these 3. And I've wounded you just the once, but I'm just going to use that 4 as a damage, and I'm within half range, so it's +2, so I've done 6 damage, yeah.
Yeah.
You can do that if you're, and she's got that, she has to have that ability on from the Ebon Chalice as well.
Yeah.
And you pick that ability in your command phase. But you also have an ability, Joe, in that same, where is it? I love this fucking model, by the way. The Fiery Heart. While a friendly Sororitas unit is within 6 inches of the model, if that unit is destroyed, the Miracle Dice you gain as a result is automatically a 6. So you just stick loads of units around her. But they just have to be within 6, not wholly within 6. So you should just, and she's a big base, right? So you can have like 6 units,
They're
including sacrificial battle sisters and Repentia.
What's their little tanky things?
Which ones? The Castigator?
Where's the book? Where's the book? Sister's book.
It's probably
Adeptus Sororitus.
I was about to say it's probably in my office, but no. But no!
Because I was looking at the Baneblade rules they put out the other day.
Yes, they're
Right.
very good.
It has twin-linked heavy flamers.
Yes, reroll wounds.
Yes.
But they're only D6 shots instead of 2D6.
But I was thinking, Sisters of Battle have
The Immolator.
the Immolator, which is, I was like, is that twin-linked?
Twin Multi-Melter is. So we can assume the Twin Multi-Melter will go to 2 shots,
Yeah.
strength 9, -4 D6 damage,
Yeah.
twin-linked. 2 shots twin-linked. That's good.
Interesting that the Immolation Flamers is just 2d6 and it's not a twin.
It's not twin-linked, no.
No.
Correct.
I think Razorback Spam might come back as well. With twin-linked assault cannons.
It's possible. I mean, I don't want to necessarily see Razorback spam again, to be quite honest with you, Jay. But it is possible.
But for those people that have really nicely painted Space Marine, you can only do Razorback Spam, by the way, if you have a nicely painted Razorback. No ugly ones.
Yeah. Ben's asked another question. I'm sorry I keep answering his questions. I've just seen him come up. If you have 4 shots, can you roll 3? And after you roll them, choose if you want to roll the 4th
So
to use Miracle Dice? Yes. The answer is yes. So the rule specifically states, okay, this is where people get confused with this. And this is where being a bit of a 40k's rules lawyer does come into play. So listen to the ruling, right? The wording. And again, I am making an assumption based on 9th now, to be clear. However, before making a dice roll for a model, or actually no, they've changed the wording. I lied to you. So the answer is no. Before making a dice roll for a model or unit from your army with the Axe of Faith ability.
Oh, so you have to pick. So say for instance you've got a Battle Sister squad with a multi-melter, flamer, and lots of bolt guns in it. you have to pick which model is getting.
So I would have argued previously that the answer would be yes, because strictly, as we discussed last night, the way in which you're supposed to roll your attack dice when you shoot with a unit is one model at a time, one weapon at a time.
Yeah.
And we often fast roll if the hit roll's the same, the wound roll's the same, the AP is the same, the damage is the same. We'll fast roll. So what you could have done in the old slow roll is rolled a hit, I miss, rolled a hit, I miss, I really want to hit, and I'm going to use my miracle dice and I'm going to hit you. This, I don't know. This is before making a dice roll for a model or unit from your army with the Axe of Face ability. And because it says unit, I would then assume if you've got a Retributor squad of 4, before making a dice roll, you go, I'm using a miracle dice and I'm rolling the other 3. Which tones it down slightly. Makes it slightly less powerful if you think about it.
Yeah.
I like that.
But that's in the hit roll to hit stage, and then you could choose to use it for the wound. So you have to you have to choose to wound before you roll the other.
That's jankily written then, isn't it, if you think about it? Before making a dice roll for a model or unit from your army with the Axe of Face ability, if you have one or more dice in your miracle dice pool, that unit can perform an act of faith. If they say, select one of the dice from your miracle dice pool to substitute that dice roll. If a roll involves the dice being substituted... No, I think it's at stage. I think it's at stages.
Okay.
So if you choose to... So if you rolled a hit... Before you do the next stage of the roll, you would have to go, I'm going to use a wound and then roll it. It's like using fate dice currently.
Okay.
So that's how I see it anyway, possibly. Anyway, back into chat.
Keep them busy. I'm bursting.
You going to the bathroom?
I'm going to turn. Red. That's right, isn't it?
Red just means red means you've muted it, Jay.
I'm going to mute there as well.
Yeah, double mute it.
I'm worried that people will hear me have a tinkle.
Are you worried? What are you doing now?
Going under.
Well, I mean, we've only got like 10 minutes here before we normally finish.
This is not a 10 minutes.
This is the lowest ever super chat total for a Liam and Joe show. You see,
Well,
this is why I keep talking about cancelling it. He gets so upset when I talk about cancelling the Liam and Joe show chat. I keep saying it just for him. They changed it to or unit because a battle shock test is not for a model, and not because they're changing the rules to fast rolling. Critical hits or lethal hits are the same. No. Critical hits are a 6 to hit. Okay, so a 6 to hit is a critical hit, and certain things like sustained hits trigger on critical hits. Okay, so sustained hits where you gain an additional attack if you roll a 6 to hit. The 6 to hit is just called a critical hit. Lethal hits is a 6 to hit counts as, or lethal hits depending on what the dice roll is, but typically a 6 to hit. Typically a lethal hit, triggers on a critical hit is an automatic wound. Okay, so if you have lethal hits and you roll a 6 to hit, which is a critical hit, it will then count as a wound. It will automatically wound the target. Have I clarified that, or have I just made it flat worse? I'm not sure if I made that better or worse, right? It's taking we in the garden, he absolutely fucking isn't. Crit hit triggers effects. So this is the thing, critical hits and critical wounds, okay, aren't special rules themselves. And this is where I think the confusion is coming in. Tony Winnick, thank you for the poo. Taking us up to £19.14 super chats tonight. Barely enough to cover the power. So critical hits and critical wounds aren't special rules. They're not universal special rules. They are just a name for an unmodified hit roll of a 6 and an unmodified wound roll of a 6. Okay? So lethal hits typically triggers on a critical hit. Devastating wounds typically triggers on a critical wound. Okay? But a critical wound and a critical hit themselves aren't specific rules. They are just a name for an unmodified 6 roll to hit and an unmodified 6 roll to wound. So if we look at the Votann ability for the conversion beamers that say it triggers a critical hit on a 4+, that means that a 4+ to hit counts as an unmodified 6 to hit, which then triggers a sustained hits ability, sustained hits D3. You with me? Trust me, it sounds more complicated than it is. And once you guys get your hands on the rules and you start using these, being universal special rules and triggering on certain things, it's going to become second nature to you. If you got it back off of the green and onto the... Yeah, you're good, yeah.
I don't think anyone heard me.
I did. Yeah, I mean, it's there, isn't it? It's through that wall.
Oh, yeah, I did forget it's right there. We could put like a little door, a window in, couldn't we?
Jeremy, thank you for the 5. Got to raise that total. I said to chat, like, the super chat total today is barely enough to cover the bills.
Oh.
Like, these 3 lights probably cost more than that.
Lunch,
to turn them on.
Yeah.
What I'm finding is people are super interested in these 10th edition rules, but it doesn't give them much inspiration to send any...
Well, they're saving all their beans, aren't they, for 10th edition?
It's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
saving up for that box set. What are your thoughts? Right, controversial.
Okay.
Right.
I like controversy. Let's go.
I think
You stink.
the Space Marine half of the new box set isn't as good as the Tyranids.
Oh, why?
In terms of what you get in usability. Say you're new to the game, right?
Yep.
You're new to the game, and you don't have either of those two armies.
Okay.
Right? You buy that box set and you want to do NIDs, right? If you do the NID half, that's actually a great representation of what a NID army is. You get some cool psychers, you get a big angry beast, you get loads and loads of gaunts, you get some decent stealth unit, you get a nice, well-rounded army.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The Tyranid half is a bit doesn't know what it is.
The Tyranid half.
No, the Space Marine half
I
doesn't know.
But I was lost then from
Sorry, the Tyranid half doesn't really know what it is.
Okay.
Because you've got a Terminator captain who does go with the Terminators. You've got a Terminator librarian who goes with the Terminators. And then you've got a random unit of Flamer guys who are only good versus Hordes.
But they have an apothecary if they burn themselves.
But he's an aggressive one. So he doesn't fit with the Terminators or the guys in normal intercessor armor.
Okay.
You've then got a lieutenant. I said
Of course
that
you
for
have. Good, thank you.
I said that for
There
you.
you
A
go.
lieutenant who
You can have because he's shit.
doesn't match either of the units, any of the units that he comes with.
Okay.
Because he's in Phobos, not
Yep.
normal. And then you've got a Dreadnought who's very, very shooty.
And Sternguard.
And then the Stern Guard, who are a little bit in between, but they don't benefit from the captain, the lieutenant, or the librarian.
What's interesting is, on the face of it,
Yeah,
there's no battle line. On the face of it.
yeah.
So unless they are bringing in ways, unless they're bringing in AOS ways to make certain things battle line, if you take a Terminator captain and Terminators become battle line, which I can't see them doing, but it's precedent because they've done AOS, or unless certain other units like the Flamer dudes suddenly become battle line.
Yeah, because
Currently, Space Marines don't have any battle line in that box.
if you look at the transfer sheet on the website, the Terminators are obviously elites. They've kept the battlefield roles though. The Terminators are elites. The Stone Guard have there's little elite transfer icon, the little weird star thing that they've got, and then the Flamers, by the transfer sheet, are Devastators because they've got the little explosion icon.
Okay.
So there's no battle line units in that box set, whereas you get like 30 gaunts.
Do you know, this is why I can never cancel the Liam and Joe show.
What is that?
Zenos, thanks for the 10. Pie for Joe. Smiley face.
I love pie.
Literally have bought him a pie for
Not
this
me
afternoon.
specifically. We walked into Morrison's, you're like, pie for dinner? And I was like, yes, because you know I love pie.
We buy a big steak pie, Joe has half of it. And today, Luce and I are having a quarter.
And I said, I'm happy to go thirds. And he was like, no, Joe.
You told me.
He was like, you're a fat, see you next Tuesday.
You told me like 3 weeks ago, it's got to be a half. The pie says serves 4. Eddie was here. I was like, we could just buy one pie. And you were like, no, I like a good half.
Yeah, but that's Eddie, isn't it? That's different. Those different. Like, that's like prison rules apply then. Whoever gets to it first eats.
So me and Luce gets a quarter and Joe gets a half.
We'll go thirds.
We look after our Joe. We look after him.
We'll go thirds.
Ben Jar or Ben Yar. Ben Yar, Ben Jar.
The only thing I'm very specific about is the ketchup in your house.
Well, oh, I didn't buy special ketchup. We were in the shop.
I know. Heinz ketchup or broke, basically, I think.
Thank you, Ben, for becoming a Scald tier all by yourself, you legends. This is why we pick out certain people and answer their questions, Joe, because they feel valued.
Yeah. We value our
We
followers.
really value our audience.
Unlike some other people who don't value theirs.
We really value you people because we literally wouldn't be here without
Yeah.
you. Saying that, I am going to tell off Boat Boy. Naughty. He gifted 100. No, 20, sorry. He gifted 20, which is already incredible.
That's big boy numbers.
Because that's 100 quid's worth.
Yeah.
That's why I said the 100, right? So thank you, man. You're a legend. Then he donated 50 bucks
50 beans?
and said, gotta spend my beans on Joe before 10th drops. At this point, I'm literally just whoring you out.
As long as they take me out for a meal first, buy me a drink, loosen me up.
Big Bad Peter Gamer's got an important question for you. Cold custard, Joe, yes or no?
No.
Sometimes.
However,
Joe.
it is acceptable in one of those custard cakes. You know those custard cake things?
I don't think it's acceptable ever.
Because it's like...
What
It's
about
like
donuts?
yeah, custard in a donut.
No, Joe. No, you were doing so well then. Sometimes this is. We had this chat the other day. Sometimes there's times you just stop talking.
No.
Just before you say a maybe isn't a no, right? Sometimes you just got to stop talking.
Maybe. when I'm like, can we have custard with our dinner tonight? And you're like, maybe. Maybe
no.
isn't a no.
It's not a no. You're not wrong.
Joe could be getting his cream-based pie.
Liberty Fires, thank you for the 10. He says, hi, Joe.
Hi, Liberty Fires. It was really nice to meet him.
He's legend,
I don't know if I'm allowed to say his real name.
I don't think
he introduced himself as Liberty Fires.
Yeah, I wouldn't like.
I only discovered his real name when he showed me his box.
I like to use real names.
Yeah.
And I know his real name too, but he purposely said to me, "Just call me Liberty Fires." Some people don't want their real name across the interwebs.
Yeah, and he was my chaperone for most of the weekend as well.
That's why on that other website I don't call you Joe, I just call you Sex Pig.
Yeah.
Thank you, 40k Medic for the 10. Pie for Liam and Luce. So there's been as much money donated for your pie as there has been for mine and Luce's.
So you get a pie to share and I get a whole pie now.
Yeah.
The science.
That looks like how it works, yeah. McGobbo, thank you for the 5. A beer for Liam, who was a total gent at Warhammer Fest. Skull. Oh, thanks, man.
When Paddy comes back, I was talking to him today.
Yeah. He's back in the UK now.
Yeah, he lives further away now, so you can't come as often.
Or he's moved or he's moving house.
He has moved. He's already there.
Oh.
It's further away, but we're saying we should get the beers on. I think we should do a game stream where me and Paddy stay here and we just drink.
Where are you both sleeping? You go top and tails in the spare room?
In your room.
No.
Or me, you, Paddy, Luce. Luce could be at the bottom.
Curled up like a cat.
Yeah.
And we'll just, who's the biggest spoon, who's the littlest spoon, who's the medium spoon?
I don't know. I feel like I'd want to be the little spoon to Paddy.
Okay.
And then you can be.
I mean, this is a whole other type of content that's coming here,
spoon.
Jay. To be honest with
That's
you.
our OnlyFans. That's OnlyFans content, that is it?
Yeah, absolutely. For the OnlyFans.
That's part of our calendar.
Yeah. One of the first articles talked about how leader keyword goes into units. Yeah, I mean, so.
Right, so leader, but it was very, very insinuated that the armour of said leader is specific to the units they can join.
Yeah, but so so I also assumed that leader just meant you could join a unit, but here's where I'm confused. The Triumph of St. Catherine has the core leader ability, right?
We need to find the leader thing then.
Right, okay, so
we need to find the community post that talks about leaders.
I don't think I can, but what I can do is I can go into Chaos Space Marines and I can go down to Abaddon, the despoiler. Right? He's the same, okay? Leader, right? No other special rules, okay? Right? Cool, okay.
You go down to the Space Marines.
Space Marines, which is Gullyman, who can't join, is that correct? Gullyman can't join, right? So he doesn't have leader in his abilities.
Oh.
So
you could take the Triumph in a 10-man unit of battle sisters.
I mean, arguably, currently, yeah. But he has Ultramarines Bodyguard. While this model is within 3 inches of one or more friendly Adeptus Astartes infantry units, this model has the lone operative ability. So it has an ability on his datasheet under abilities that shows that he has lone operative whilst he's within 3 inches. If he was just a lone operative, he'd have lone operative, which means that you can't be targeted unless you're within 12 inches of enemy units. He only gains lone operative if he's within 3 inches of Adeptus Astartes infantry, so he's basically character blocked to that point. Everything else has leader, which means they can join a unit. So currently, as I interpret it, the Triumph of St. Catherine, which has got that bonkers aura nonsense as well. Oh, hang on, this will be interesting. Here's an interesting thing.
You're clicking on the Space Marine page.
Here's an interesting thing, Joe. Okay, cool. So the aura is within range of that model.
Yeah, because we had this conversation with Abaddon, didn't we?
She can join a unit. You can walk around the board surrounded by battle sisters.
Does it say how big the battle sisters unit can go to?
No. It will on the other side. It hasn't shown us. I hope it could be 20.
20.
I hope it could be 20, Joe. I'm getting excited for sisters. I'm getting very excited for sisters.
Just surrounded with even 10 ablative battle sister wounds.
McGobbo, welcome to the channel of the Skull. Thank you for joining us, you're a hero. BMO, excited about World Eaters tomorrow? Yes and no. So I'll go as far as to say that basically everything I've seen so far in terms of rules, I'm quite excited by. I think they're pretty good. So I am pretty happy so far. I'm nervous. One of my most favourite things they've done in a very long time is Blood Tithe, right?
Yeah.
And I don't feel like Blood Tithe is that complicated. I don't feel like it's that difficult to port across the 10th edition, and I feel like it's a set of rules that's going to make nice, easy sense in 10th, and considering we've kept Miracle Dice, and we've kept Reanimation, and we've kept Judgment Tokens, there is a glimmer of hope that we keep Blood Tithe. But I also remember the era of Khorne Demonkin and how long we didn't keep that for. And I'm really worried, Joe. I'm really worried that when World Eaters come out, the army special rule is not going to be Blood Tithe, and the detachment they give us is not Blood Tithe. And I'm going to be like, that was a cool rule for 2 months.
I'm going to go for one of Joe's wild assumptions, right? I reckon Blood Tithe will be their army rule, right?
Yeah.
But it'll be basic.
I don't know. I'm nervous.
I will go so far as to say it will be like Power from Pain for Drakari.
I mean,
so the more blood that you acquire, the more powerful your army becomes.
I prefer it as it is now, where you get to choose.
No, you can't have it.
The Ginger Dude says you'll only be able to join the Triumph to certain units. Don't forget, yeah, I know. But then Old Grey Buddha said, imagine the Triumph and 10 Sacrosants. I mean, how cool would that look?
It would
the
look
shields and the poles walking the.
Yeah.
I have a sister's boner right now. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
That sounds like something that should be on a different website.
Yeah. Join our OnlyFans. Yeah.
No, that costs a fortune. That costs more than actual OnlyFans.
Oh, just join Twitter.
Twitter. There's two T's.
Twitter.
Twitter, Joe. Twitter.
Twitter.
There we go.
Join Twitter.
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 Did you say Bath or Bath?
Bath.
Good man. Okay, good. Thank God for that. Right, okay.
What I like about the current rules is that what I'm hoping, right, bearing in mind I have influenced some rules in the past, I want 40k to be all narrative all the time.
Okay.
And I really want competitive to take a massive backseat in the new edition. So because quite clearly their new rules are simplified, not simple, but they are also very narrative in what you can do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I was trying to find the 10th character rules, Joe.
That was ages ago. That was pre Warhamster Fest, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. 10th edition Warhammer 40k, your question is answered. Is it that one? The reveal. Nope. No, of course it wasn't. Maybe the keyword we're looking for is character. Have you heard how these keys sound now I type?
Clicky clacky.
So like there's like fucking scrunchable up paper underneath it.
Oh, he's a beautiful model, by the way. The page you've just gone on to.
This one here.
That new Imperial Fist Terminator Captain.
I have...
makes me feel things.
We have discussed it on the channel here, between Joe and I specifically, doing... there you go, thank you, Heresy.
Yeah.
Heresy on the channel. And I've said that there's 18 legions, right? So I said that I'm going to pick a loyalist and a heretic one. And I picked Horus, Sons of Horus, and I've picked Imperial Fists.
Yeah.
And then Joe was like, oh, do I pick a loyalist and a heretic one? And I'm like, no, you get the other 16.
Yeah.
But Joe really likes building and painting space marines.
I'm really not against it either.
No, you're not.
No, because I've wanted to do, I'm starting off, the first loyalist we're going to do is White Scars.
Yeah.
Because those port quite nicely over to 40k, and we don't have a White Scars 40k army. And then Traitor.
Oh, we can use those jet bikes for bikes. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I think Traitor, I either do Iron Warriors or Night Lords. I think.
What, for your first one?
Yeah, for my first Traitor.
I like the idea of Iron Warriors, although I am also trying to get hold of, I think one of the things possibly needed for Heresy, dare I say this, is things like a 3D printer, because shoulder pads, etc.
But Night Lords would look amazing. And although
Here we go.
Emperor's Children. Oh, I just want. The good thing is I'm doing them all because I want to do them all.
I found it. Clerics now interact with subordinates. The powerful aura bonuses they used to impart to nearby troops are gone in almost all cases, apart from the fact that they showcase Abaddon, Gulliman, Triumph. They've all got auras breeds anyway. These effects are powerful, but the potential to set them up made the balancing game tricky. Sometimes this is a fun hobby of mine now, chat. I like to go back and read some of the old 10th edition articles and be like, well, that was bullshit.
Yeah. Is it called the contradiction game?
Yeah. The first thing to notice is the leader ability, which unlocks the ability to join a squad. This is done before deployment at the same time as transports are allocated and units are placed in reserve. The leader becomes a permanent member of that unit for the whole of the battle. So yeah, she's got the leader ability. And we just need to find out what she can join. So the Triumph can in fact join a unit of sisters of some sort, Jay. Yay.
Yeah. If you look at the...
I hope she can join
if you look at what that lieutenant can join...
So the lieutenant, a standard Primaris lieutenant, can join an assault intercessor squad, a blade guard veteran squad, a hellblaster squad, redacted, I assume are
Flamer
men, intercessor squad, and I don't know what the last redacted would be because the Stern Guard,
the missile men had already been.
Yeah, the t-shirt launchers.
They had already been shown off at this point. So
the Stern Guard I don't know about. It might be Stern Guard, but Stern Guard already existed as well. So who knows?
Yeah, but.
Who knows? Tabletop, how do you doing, man? I support Joe on that. Narrative gameplay really makes the game more fun, and it's what brings you back. When you fight the same list over and over because it's the most competitive, it's as annoying as sin. 100%. We try and mix lists up a little bit on the channel if we can, unless Joe's on the losing streak, and then it's 3 units of Blade Guard, 3 Dreadnoughts, 3 units...
That's all I've got for my Flesh Terrors.
So that's a you problem. So he's not practicing what he's preaching, Tattooed Tabletop, is what we're saying.
No, but they're always fun lists.
How tattooed is Tattooed Tabletop?
Is it not just a table that's gained sentience?
I just feel like it should be head to toe if he's Tattooed Tabletop.
Or is he one of those people that likes to be a table? To be used as a table?
I mean, Votann will have some abilities to shoot more in the opponent's turn with reactive reprisal and Overwatch changing to movement or charge phase. I feel like Votann will be going to be in a good place, right? Yeah. Absolutely. William Castillo, Hydra just joined. So annoyed for Leagues of Votann. Rangers cut, damages cut, rules so far cut. I mean, William, they kind of needed it.
Yeah. What you're saying is all good things.
What we're saying is they took a busted faction. To be fair, once they'd made the tweaks to how the judgment tokens worked, and once they'd made the tweaks to point, they haven't been that busted. They've actually been okay. They've not been that bad to play against.
I would argue that they might be a little bit over-pointed now for what you get.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that.
But at the same time, the stuff that's on the table does work.
Yeah.
I think bringing their power level down reduces lots of the feel bad.
The thing is, as well, though, is we don't yet know what any of the Leagues of Votann characters do. Yeah. We don't know what any of their we know one of their 8 stratagems or 6 stratagems. We know what one of them does. We don't know what any of their enhancements do. We don't know what Berserks do. We don't know what Hearthguard do. We don't know what Sagittars do. So. It might, and we also, most importantly, we don't know their points, and we don't know how much the other armies that they're going to be running into are impacted.
And what Games Workshop, by the looks of it, are trying to do, and I think it's going to work, is that currently most games only last 2 turns, on average. I'd argue there's no point going past turn 2. Like we have to, because we're a channel, we have to make it last till 10:30,
which is really easy when Brom's playing.
Yeah, whereas I've played games where the end of turn 2, the first half of turn 2, so whoever went first finishes their turn, and you're like, cool, we know what's going to happen now. Might as well. Like sometimes, like the other person's tabled at that point.
Yeah.
What it looks like they try to do: reduce lethality, increase survivability, and make the games actually last 5 turns.
Yeah.
And it means that those models that you spent literal hundreds of pounds, dollars, yen, like all that money and time that you've put into that army, you actually get back. Instead of spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds and hundreds of hours to get that army on the table just to pick it up again.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a point I'm trying to make. Every single time we look at any faction focus, we're looking at, and I said this right at the start, right? I did say this at the start. We're looking at it in a vacuum. We are comparing it to 9th edition because that's what we currently know and that's our current experience. you have to be cognizant of the fact that we're not looking at it in the context of the wider 10th edition because we can't. We don't have the edition. We don't have all the faction rules. We don't have the points. One of the things I always say to everybody, and I say this every single time, right? Whenever a new codex comes out and I review it, whenever new rules come out and I review them, whenever we look at 10th edition stuff, really and truthfully, what you want to be doing is playing 5 games with your army and then telling me if you think they've got it right or wrong. Because you might put your Leagues of Votann on the table. And by the way, William, I'm not trying to discredit how you're feeling right now, because I get it. If it does. In terms of how powerful they are, they look significantly less impressive than they are in the current book. But as a person who plays Leagues of Votann, they look significantly less impressive than they were in the book. I am hoping it does mean that my opponent, when I come to a table with Leagues of Votann, isn't going to give it the old 7th edition Elder, ugh, I don't want to play this army.
Yeah, how many people that you play with your Votann against, how many of them look like they're having fun, right? And then think about that during 10th edition when you're playing with the Votann and see how many of your opponents are having fun then. I think you will notice a drastic difference.
So I really don't want to discredit how you're feeling, but what I would suggest is get them on the tabletop in 10th edition, use your new rules, play against other armies and their new rules, come back to you once you've played 5 games. And it might be the case that you come back and go, GW got this wrong. They're too weak now. They're not good enough. I don't think, looking at the previews, that's going to be the case. I feel like they actually sound quite interesting. One of the reasons why I like them is because although the Judgment token now only brings them up to a 3+, people seem to already be forgetting that if you've got 2 Judgment tokens, it's +1 a wound, and you've got railguns and infantry that are strength 12.
Yeah.
So they're still going to be wounding. They're one of the very few things out there that in an infantry squad could potentially be wounding other armies' transports on 2s.
Yeah.
Right? That's mad good.
That's crazy good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
With devastating wounds on them, which means a 6 to wound will just do mortals. So I think there is possibly some more impressive firepower or damage output in other places.
You could have a couple good. You could have a good, like a game where you have a couple good turns where you're spitting out nothing but flat mortal wounds on people.
Yeah, he said, I think I'm mostly annoyed by the range reduction. So the range reduction is an interesting one for Votann. That's one that I questioned.
Right. I don't think it's that bad.
But they only have a 5-inch move, Joe.
But the table is smaller, right? There's terrain still exists and obscuring still exists. You don't need a massive range on a unit that can't see anything anyway, right? And you've got to think, the game, I hope, is still going to be about moving and holding objectives.
Yeah, I think so.
Right? So
I think you're right.
By reducing the range, it stops the army from being a really dull gunline army that just sits at the back and deletes stuff. Now you have to move forward, you have to interact with your opponent. Your gun is by far now just as devastating, but you've got to get to where you're going. And you still have Sagittars, you still have land fortresses.
Yeah. And what they have also done, and Nanaka has pointed this out already, they've reduced some of the ranges of other armies' weapons as well.
Yeah.
What this means is, because it looks like they're doing it quite a lot at the moment, off the top of what I've seen so far, is it means that we're not going to be in a situation where I stand in my corner and you stand in your corner and we just shoot each other for 5 turns and the game's finished. Yeah. Like, I'm going to have to position to get in range. I'm going to have to go down angles, I'm going to have to take flanks to get ranges on you, and you're going to have to do the same to me, which means we're going to have a more moving battlefield. Yeah. And I'm actually kind of pro that as well, because it's more interesting. There's nothing worse. Guard will still be able to do this, which sucks a little bit. There's nothing worse than my tanks are here, I'm just shooting at you.
What you'll find, though, is you'll probably see it a lot more from me. You'll probably see it from Liam. You're probably going to see it with Paddy. Not so much from Brom. But that when you're playing games, the turn 1, I spend most of my time advancing units.
Oh, I position.
So turn 1, here's my deployment zone. They're there. I need to get to somewhere. I need to get to somewhere quicker than my opponent. So this guy, he's advancing, this guy's advancing, he's advancing. They're advancing. Get into position so that turn 2, when your opponents close the gap, then
do you know what? We don't do a ton of hyper-competitive content on the channel because, quite frankly, it's fucking dull to watch.
Yeah.
However, there's multiple different types of competitive people. One of the types of competitive people is a type that's like, I want to destroy opponent's unit first turn. That's what I want to do. And that is a bad competitive player, typically, because if you're playing on a decent tabletop with decent terrain, turn 1, if your opponent is a decent player, you won't be able to shoot something off the board because you won't be able to fucking see it because they will use cover, obscuring, dents, etc. Again, I'm talking specifically about ninth right now. So I'm a competitive player who specifically uses my first battle round to set up.
Yeah.
So my game plan whenever I come to a tabletop is battle round 1, I'm setting up. I'm moving, I'm setting up, I'm getting ready to do my damage in turn 2 onwards. Because if I'm playing you, Jay, and you're also playing the game, you're gonna want to move out onto objectives. So I position, A, thinking about objectives from battle round 2 onwards, and B, thinking about where you're going to move to go on to objectives from battle round 2 onwards. And then the second you step out, I'm like, now I can see you.
Yeah. And you got to think, right, that gun is 18-inch range. I've been moving stuff, right? So here is your deployment zone, right?
Yeah.
Your movement is 5, right, to there. Let's assume... Okay, let's not assume that they have the auto 3-inch, but you roll a dice, the average is 3. So you're gonna go an extra 3 inches to there, right? So you're already in the middle of the table with an advance. Next turn, you move 5 to there, right? Right, and you've got an 18-inch range gun. You can see you're already in range of your opponent's deployment zone, right?
You can't see this because of the laptop, but even with the normal move, if you're on your edge of deployment zone, the range is here, over halfway across the board.
So 18 inches is still a really long range.
But that's only on the strength 12, AP -4, D3 +3 damage, devastating wounds, heavy cannon. The standard weapons,
they're still 20,
standard bolt was still 24.
Yeah.
2 shots 24. You know, it's
so,
not bad.
Yeah, so even, okay, you've got 24-inch range. That's there. You can literally almost touch the back of the board on a 24-inch gun.
But, again, like, I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm saying just play it a bit first because we are looking at a vacuum.
You'll probably find with everyone, in every army in the game, that there is going to be an adjustment period where you don't necessarily have to... everyone's going to have to relearn how to use their army because all their units are going to change. And then you might find that the play style of the army that you've currently got is going to change slightly.
Yeah.
Hopefully for the better.
Tattoo table that did say, you can see how many tattoos I have, Liam. You were in the chat for my boarding patrol match against Steve. I forgot that he came down to Fang. I forgot that he prefers Vanguard to us, Joe.
Can you ban people?
Yeah. I mean, it's not fair though, is it? You know, if that's their preference, I feel like they've already got a pretty sucky life.
Yeah, you can't judge people on their choices.
I mean, you can.
But you can judge them on their actions.
You can.
And you went to them and not us. Yeah. So,
love you really, man. Fate's Daydreamer says, and thank you for the 5, at least Leeds of Votann is still an army. I'm scared as a Yanari player, but I'm still happy with 10th. He made an interesting point last night. We'll touch on this just before we go, because we're well over time right now. Just trying to squeeze every penny out of chat right at the moment. He made an interesting point last night. It was an interesting question. Let's say the Codex Aldari remains Codex Aldari in its current form, and they release a detachment for Codex Aldari. How's that going to work for people who are Yanari players who potentially don't have 2,000 points of Eldar or 2,000 points of Drukhari or 2,000 points of Harlequins, and their army is actually an amalgamation of those 3 types of units because they don't drop the right type of detachment for them to use that, i.e. a Yanari detachment, they won't be able to play.
Yanari is a tough one because it's gone through lots and lots and lots of different variations from 7th edition. It's a very different beast now than what it was in 7th. In 7th it was broke as hell. 8th edition had another iteration. 9th edition had another one. I imagine Yanari will still exist.
They will.
Because it's got 3 characters that Games Workshop sell. 3 named characters. And they've got a massive influence over the overarching narrative of
I feel like if Games Workshop are clever...
Yeah.
I feel like if they're clever, when they announce Codex Aldari, they will have the faction rule, fate dice.
Yeah.
Then they will have Detachment 1, and that'll be one of the only occasions we see this. Detachment 1, an Aldari detachment. Detachment 2, a Yanari detachment.
Yeah.
If they're clever, that's what they do. And I'm really, really hoping for your sake, Fate's Daydreamer, that on day 1, as an index, there is a Yanari detachment for you to use.
I do feel sorry for Yanari players in the sense that they have to buy 3 codexes.
Why? 1.
2. 2 currently.
They have to buy 1.
Yeah. Eldar.
Can buy 2 Drukhari.
Yeah. Because before, Harlequins used to be a separate one. Now they're in the book.
Yeah. So before, you had Harlequins, Codex Eldar, Codex Dracari, and then a supplement for Ynnari rules. 4. Now it's better. You buy the Aldari book, and you can just run Ynnari with pure Eldar and Harlequins. If you want to sub in Dracari, you need the Dracari book as well.
Yeah.
Not that bad, actually, right now. No. Still more than one book, which makes me a sad panda. I'm a sad panda.
But soon you'll be able to have cards. And everyone can be like Gambit, the best Axemen. Yeah. Axemen? X-Men.
X-Man.
X-Men.
Ben NX. What? Right. What are we going to play tonight?
I was thinking about doing a fun game.
Oh, no. Do you know what that means?
Yes. Maybe. But I was thinking about getting out some of Daryl's terrain that he gave us ages ago that we've never done anything with.
Okay.
And doing a spaceship.
Oh.
Escape from...
But that means pure infantry.
Space hole.
I don't have pure infantry, anything.
Yeah, you do.
What?
Eldar.
Eldar's not pure infantry. There's bikes in that and an avatar.
Guard.
That's tanks.
Admech.
Oh, that sounds awful in 9th edition.
You can do Bronze Ultramarine.
I'd rather lick out a hippo.
Oh. Death Guard. Got Mortarion.
I was about to be like, we haven't got a Death Guard army, Joe. Yeah, exactly. So, you know.
Thousand Suns?
No, I'm not using these terrible armies.
Who's saying you're doing 2,000 points? I don't know.
I'm not using these terrible armies in 9th, Joe. I'm not using Admech again in 9th if I can help it. I'm not using Thousand Suns. I reckon we're on the cusp of when they're going to release these boxes. So I do not want to be running complicated armies that I'd have to learn all over again just to be able to play them for the next 3 to 4, 5, 6 weeks.
I thought I could trap you on a spaceship and you have to run away from my bugs, but not. Chat plays. It's like chat plays, but just Tyranids, and you have to run away.
I'll run Flesh Terrors against
Tyranids. Or get
Tyranids.
from one side of the table to the other.
They're all infantry, look.
Whilst I throw bugs at you.
They're all infantry. Because 2 damage swords will be really good against Carnifexes. So far, in all the 10th edition announcements, no phase caps, no damage reduction.
But they haven't shown off any units that have those.
Have they?
The Death Guard will be the interesting one. They've not shown off Redemptors.
Have they not? That's what I was looking for. Oh, they did.
They've
show
shown
the
off the gun for the Redemptor. I want to get that Leviathan book when it comes out on Audible because I can't read. I need someone to read it to me.
You can't read?
I can. Oh, what are the Gene Stealers now?
Gene Sneakers. 8-inch move, toughness 4, 5+ save, 2 wounds.
Ooh.
2 wounds. Leadership 7, objective control 1, 4 attacks each, weapon skill of 2+, strength 4, -2, 1 damage. Synapse creature, scout 8-inch. I'm assuming he's a pre-game move.
If it's like old scout, which is just a pre-game move.
Vanguard predator, each time one of this unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. If the target is within range of an objective marker, you can reroll all of the wound rolls instead. And invulnerable save of 5+. Doesn't say how many in the unit, and also they're not.
I would imagine if they're hitting on 2s, I would imagine it would be a 10-man squad because pure strains are currently a 10.
Yeah. There's nothing in there that used to be -1 damage.
There's no guard stuff that's -1 damage. Sorry, everyone.
Are we keeping you up?
You are. You are. I could be asleep right now on this table.
Necrons, I don't think there's anything that was Necrons, I don't think it was -1 damage. Command protocols, monolith, warriors, void dragon. No, nothing in warriors that's -1 damage. Manatarum, they didn't show off anything that was
guard. There's nothing in guard that's -1 damage. Bar sentinels.
Yeah, correct. Demons, I don't think there's anything in there.
Demons. Did they show off? Did they say what?
Demon.
Did they say what Nurgle does?
No.
Boo.
Did you not read? Have you not read every single article so far?
No.
What use are you to me, Jay? What use are you to me? Okay, it doesn't look like there's anything. Anyway, right, you beautiful people. Joe and Liam debate session. I did suggest that we don't even play a game tonight.
Yeah.
I suggested that we do. It's like a chat plays, but not a chat plays.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll take questions at a price point, which I have not yet decided, and then we have to debate them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A mass debate.
Like Warhammer 40k masturbate. Yeah.
I'm good at that.
Warhammer 40k masturbating is what I would call it. We could do that instead.
Can we have comfortable chairs?
What do we reckon? We've only got one bar stool still, haven't we? I don't know how we'd make that comfy, Joe.
Can we do it in front of your desk? And then Luce can bring us tea.
We could. I have only got one mic. I'd have to set the other mic up. Might be possible. Might be possible.
Yeah.
Possible. I'd have to make some. We could make some adjustments. Oh no.
We can play Call of Duty.
No, we can't play Call of Duty. It's not monetized, Joe, and I'm not putting it back on this channel.
Fine. I mean, we could play a game, so we could debate. We could have a mass debate whilst playing.
We could masturbate what's playing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure how we do that yet. That sounds like a good idea to Dats and Des. I've said it. I think I said it last night. It is in fact Dats and Des's idea to do this as a regular.
Oh, so he's well on with it, isn't he?
Yeah, it's like a regular podcast thing. So like every £150 donated. I'm joking. It wouldn't. It wouldn't be that hard. Mic in the middle. No, the thing is, I buy very, very, very expensive, high quality mics. So if I put it in between us, it just sounds really shit and echoey. It needs to be like here for it to work. It's a possible. It's a maybe.
What would we masturbate over?
Whatever. So that's what I'm saying. They put the questions in. Chat asks us questions.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So chat puts the questions in. We debate them. It's a concept for a future show. It would be better when we're in a studio.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah? Okay. Well, we'll have a think about what we're going to do tonight. I don't know. We will be live. Somewhere or another, we'll be live at 7:30 this evening on the channel. It'll be at least Joe and I. If we are playing tonight, Luce has agreed to be the B team on the deck for us, if we are playing tonight. Or we can sit at the desk and chill out, because I think like Joe fancies that. He likes to sitting down like.
Yeah, I like sitting down. Although not on the desk chair. We got rid of that, didn't we?
I need to buy a new chair now as well for the office because Joe broke my other chair.
We should go to Curry's.
What now?
Right now.
I mean, we can.
Or somewhere that sells like a really big beanbag chair. That's what I want.
Right, we're going to go and try and work out what the fuck we're going to do tonight. Basically, the long and short of it is, chat, is we kind of don't really care about 9th edition, and we're not.
I like playing games.
We're not desperately sad enough to be trying to promote 10th edition battle reports when we don't know any of the rules. So
I've seen some channels that tried to.
We're not talking about Joe. We're not talking about it. Fucking tragic cunts. So we're not going to do any of that nonsense, but we're just trying to find out ways that we can continue to entertain you people whilst waiting for 10th edition, because I feel like people are kind of switched off of 9th edition a little bit.
That's why we do a fun game. Escape from Joe's bulk. Get out of Joe's hole.
Yeah, more OnlyFans, right? Anyway, thanks for hanging out with us today. Thank you to everybody who donated memberships. You people are all incredible, especially Big Bad Boat Boy. Thank you, you legend.
Yeah.
If you've been gifted membership, !Discord, come join us in the Great Hall server. Hang out with us in Discord. It's a fun and friendly place to be. Thank you so much to everybody who donated via Super Chats. Again, 10% of the Super Chat revenue always goes to charity every single month. Our charity of choice is Models for Heroes. Check them out, !M4H in the chat if you want to know what the work they do. They're incredible people, so thank you so much. Do what VT is doing and play some AOS. Not when there's fucking 30 viewers, no. I'd rather just have a night off at that point.
Yeah. Just play Call of Duty.
I mean, VT's audience showed them what they thought of them playing AOS, Mandy. I don't intend to follow suit there, to be perfectly honest with you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you tonight.
Bye, have a wonderful time.